LeBron James. The Knicks really might have had him. New York was sitting on around $34 million in cap space, and from everything that's come out, it sounds like LeBron actually had them at the top of his list early on. But then came the pitch. Oh boy. Instead of laying out a solid plan for winning, the Knicks went full Hollywood. They brought out James Gandolfini and Edie Falco in full Sopranos mode, in character, Tony and Carmela, in witness protection, in Manhattan. They filmed it in Gandolfini's actual apartment and everything. The whole skit was about bringing LeBron to Madison Square Garden, but not in any basketball sense, just pure flair. And they didn't stop there. They stacked the thing with celebrities. Donald Trump popped up. So did Rudy Giuliani and Mike Bloomberg. Robert De Niro was there, Chris Rock, Spike Lee. It was like a New York tourism ad on steroids. There was so much going on that it barely said anything. No one talked seriously about basketball. No roster vision, no strategy, nothing about how they build around him. ESPN called it something that felt like a comedy sketch. Bill Simmons said it was so bad LeBron never even considered a second meeting. And that was it. The meeting tanked. He went to Miami. The Knicks, all the flash, none of the follow through. They had the money, they had the market, they had the moment, but they went with Broadway over basketball. One meeting, one pitch, and one of the biggest what-ifs in NBA history walked out the door. Cooper Flagg. This is the Cooper Flagg Vegas theory. This theory's built like a thriller, and it all starts with that wild Luka trade. In February of 2025, Dallas shipped Luka to the Lakers and brought back Anthony Davis. Fans went nuclear. The reaction was brutal, like the Mavs had just pulled the plug on their entire future. But here's where the theory kicks in. Some believe that move wasn't just about defense. It was step one in a master plan. Then came the lottery. Dallas had only a 1.8% chance to win the top pick, and yet somehow they landed it. That pick turned into Cooper Flagg, the Duke superstar and media magnet. The odds were wild, but the story, even wilder. According to the theory, this was all a setup. That Luka trade, supposedly done to tank fan loyalty, that lottery win, a reward rigged to set the stage for the future face of the franchise. And the final twist? Vegas. The Mavericks owners, the Adelson family, have deep roots in Las Vegas. Some think the entire plan is about moving the team to Vegas, using Cooper Flagg as the crown jewel. The flashy trade, the miracle lottery, the star rookie. It all looks like a long game to rebrand and relocate. Even after the Mavs denied it all, including a statement from Patrick Dumont himself, the theory only picked up steam. Fans think those denials are part of the show, just keeping things quiet until the switch flips, a superstar gone, a new one gifted, and a relocation road paved in casino chips and camera flashes. Michael Jordan. The theory says Michael Jordan's legendary defensive stats from the 1987 to 88 season might have been a little bloated. His career steals per game average sits at 2.3. In his rookie season, it was 2.4. But that defensive player of the year, he posted a wild 3.2 per game. And that's where things get weird. Analyst Tom Haberstroh dug into the numbers and found a wild split. At home, Jordan was averaging around 4 steals and over 2 blocks a game. But on the road, that dropped to about 2.1 steals and 1.2 blocks. That's a huge difference. And in theory world, that home scorekeeping might have been handing him a few extras. Nick Wright ran with this, saying the stat gap was around 182%. He even said the Defensive Player of the Year award that year was inflated. And he wasn't alone. A Reddit user reviewed 6 of Jordan's games and found 28 steals listed in box scores. But when they actually counted the tape, they saw 12. That's a 16 steal gap. Jordan still led the league in steals 3 times. And in that same season, he became the first guard ever with over 200 steals and 100 blocks. The resume stacked. But this theory, it suggests the legend might have gotten a little scoring table boost, especially at home, from fans to analysts. The whispers keep circling. What if the stats helped shape the myth just as much as the man did? By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Steph Curry. Game 6 of the 2016 finals pushed everything to the edge. Curry fouled out for the first time all season, then got ejected after tossing his mouthguard toward a fan. The moment was wild, frustration boiling over, emotions running high. But what came next lit the fuse for a theory that's never really gone away. Right after the game, Ayesha Curry fired off a tweet that read, "I've lost all respect. Sorry, this is absolutely rigged for money or ratings. And not sure which. I won't be silent. Just saw it live." She deleted it soon after and explained it was emotional, tied to the heat of the moment and a separate incident involving her father earlier that night. But for conspiracy theorists, that tweet became something else entirely. This theory frames her message not as frustration, but as an unfiltered leak, a real-time outburst that accidentally exposed the NBA's supposed agenda, manufacturing drama for profit. The timing was too perfect. Curry, the league's biggest star, ejected during a crucial finals game. The series tied, Game 7 looming. It felt like television. And in the theory, Ayesha's tweet is viewed as proof the stakes weren't just about basketball. They were about ratings, money, and storyline control. She's seen not just as a spouse, but as someone close enough to the league's inner workings to see what fans aren't meant to. Her reaction is interpreted as a truth slip, not just anger. Nikola Jokic, a yacht in Saint-Tropez, was all it took to blow the theory doors wide open. Jokic's agent, Mishko Rajnatovic, casually drops a photo with LeBron James and Maverick Carter, throws in a caption about big plans for the fall of 2026, and the internet combusts. Fans immediately started spinning the theory wheel. Was LeBron ditching the Lakers to team up with Jokic? Was Denver the new hotspot? Or was this LeBron's farewell tour in disguise? The timing couldn't have stirred the pot any better. LeBron's contract hits free agency in 2026, and Jokic also staring down a big decision around then. Pair that with the Nuggets money situation, and things start sounding like a salary cap Sudoku. Still, the image of those three on a yacht, all smirks and sunglasses, was enough to make the league look twice. But the plot thickened in a totally different direction. Turns out, that meeting had nothing to do with Denver or Ring. It was about a brand new $5 billion global basketball league. Carter's pitching a touring league with 12 teams, split evenly between men and women, playing across continents and letting players own a piece of the pie. That's a huge deal, especially since the NBA doesn't even allow that. And Rajnatovic being in the mix, he's got major international pull, which makes this thing look serious. As for Jokic, he didn't bite on the gossip. He just posted back to work like none of it fazed him. That's the kind of energy that makes theories stick even harder. Wilt Chamberlain. This one sounds like it came from a barbershop argument that turned into a full-blown legend. The story? He raced Jim Brown. Not just any race. This was Wilt versus one of the most dominant running backs in football history. And some say Wilt actually won. Yeah, that's the theory. You've got whispers from comments listing it like it's just another notch in Chamberlain's belt. Then there are those grainy, short YouTube videos claiming they raced at some party. One clip even says Jim Brown challenged Wilt just to see if all that athletic hype was real. The twist? Nobody actually says who won. It's the sports mystery equivalent of a choose-your-own-adventure book. Jim Brown was known for speed and brute force. Wilt was 7 feet tall and running track events like the quarter mile. So imagining them racing, it's the kind of idea that makes you pause mid-scroll and think, wait, did that actually happen? That's where it gets murky. There's no official result, no stopwatch, no record book entry, just the echo of sports fans arguing over who had the edge that day. Some swear Wilt was faster. Others say Brown wouldn't have taken that loss lightly. But the idea of these two icons settling it on foot, it's too good not to believe a little. That mental image of Wilt gliding past Brown, or Brown powering past Wilt, it sticks. No matter who really crossed first, the fact that people still talk about it like it's gospel tells you all you need to know. The race might have been unofficial, but the theory's legacy, very real. Jason Tatum. Just months after becoming the face of NBA 2K25, he suffered a brutal Achilles injury that pulled him from the postseason spotlight. And just like that, the whispers of the 2K curse came roaring back. It's the fan-fueled theory that anyone landing the 2K cover ends up battling bad luck, and Tatum's name just joined the list. This isn't the first time the cover's been connected to setbacks. Kevin Garnett went down the season after his feature. Derrick Rose's tear came 2 years after his. Kevin Durant fractured his foot. Kyrie missed the playoffs. The timeline always seems a little too convenient for fans to ignore, and Tatum's injury fits that eerie pattern just right. After showing out all season, Tatum ruptured his right Achilles in Game 4 of the Eastern Semis. The next day, surgery. Then came the long road to recovery, 9 to 12 months. He's been sharing small rehab updates since, saying the days are finally getting easier. Still, Boston's front office is in no rush. Brad Stevens made it clear they want him fully ready, not halfway back. And the fans, they didn't hold back. The internet lit up with posts like Tatum's injury was an Achilles tear, bro LOL. And 2 cover athletes in a couple weeks to go down with Achilles injuries, they're connecting the dots. Whether the league likes it or not, coincidence or curse, this whole situation threw fresh fuel on a superstition that refuses to fade. Every new injury only makes the 2K curse feel more like a warning label than a video game honor. Joel Embiid. In October 2024, the NBA fined the Sixers $100,000 for misleading the public about his health status. That's not just a slap on the wrist, it's the league basically saying, hey, tell the truth. But the fine wasn't just about missed games, it was about a pattern. The team had been publicly vague, while privately knowing Embiid's left knee wasn't game ready. The season didn't help their case either. In February 2025, they shut him down entirely, but didn't give fans much to work with. Ongoing knee issues was the phrase. No timeline, no clarity. That just made the whispers louder. Was it worse than they were saying? By January, a fan-sided article, flat out, accused them of hiding the truth. They pointed to day-to-day injury tags that stretched on for weeks. To fans, it felt more like a cover-up than caution, and the rumors only grew. Fast forward to July and August, and now there's a split. One side says Embiid's nearing the end of his career, physically drained and in pain. But the team keeps pushing optimism. Nick Nurse called the updates all positive and said Embiid's been working hard. The contradiction is what makes this theory stick. One report from The Sun claims he's still in serious discomfort, possibly missing training camp. Another outlet says he's on track and nearly ready. The mixed messages just feed the fire. So when people say the Sixers aren't telling the full story about Embiid's health, they point to the fine, the vague updates, the conflicting narratives. Whether it's strategy or spin, fans are reading between every line. Kyrie. One of the most controversial claims tied to him is that John F. Kennedy was assassinated by banking powers who wanted to silence his plans to dismantle what Kyrie called the banking cartel. According to Kyrie, the hit wasn't random or political, it was financial. He's implied that the real power behind the scenes wanted Kennedy gone before he could disrupt their control. That claim didn't pop out of nowhere. It fits right into the web of conspiracy theories Kyrie's brought up over the years. We're talking flat earth arguments, coded warnings about vaccine plots, secret societies, and even a theory that the CIA killed Bob Marley. None of this is subtle. Kyrie's not tiptoeing around these ideas. He's put them out there on platforms big enough to echo through the league and beyond. He once promoted a theory that the COVID vaccine was actually a scheme by elites to link black people to a master computer. Yes, really. In the same breath, he's pushed messages warning against trusting the system, claiming shadowy organizations are behind global manipulation. The JFK statement fits that pattern perfectly, one where powerful institutions are always hiding the real story. So when Kyrie talks about Kennedy going after the banking elite and paying the price, it's not just a wild quote, it's a piece of a bigger puzzle. Whether it's presidents, musicians, or everyday people, Kyrie paints a world where control is invisible and the truth is buried under layers of lies. To him, these aren't just ideas, they're signs of a deeper war being fought behind the scenes. James Harden, at the 2022 trade deadline, he pulled the plug on the Nets experiment and asked out fast. One day, he's still on the court with Kyrie and Kevin Durant, and the next, he's shipping off to Philly. Kyrie even said he was blindsided, explaining how one day they were talking and then Harden was gone. That sudden shift, it's the heart of the theory. Harden knew something was coming. He later admitted it wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. He said, "I didn't just ask to leave for no reason." He pointed to dysfunction. Internal issues he chose not to explain publicly. That silence, it's what's kept this theory alive, because when a player says he saw something but won't name it, people start filling in the blanks. And then Kyrie followed. The very next season, he asked for his own trade and landed in Dallas. That move gave new weight to Harden's exit. If Kyrie bailed too, maybe Harden saw the cracks first. The team that was once hyped as a super team started unraveling piece by piece, and both guys seemed to want no part of it. Add in the weird silence from the Nets front office, and fans started connecting dots. Kyrie's vaccine controversy, inconsistent availability, strange rotations, and off-court drama. Suddenly, Harden's early exit felt like a warning shot, not just a basketball decision. So the theory goes like this. Harden didn't just want out, he wanted away. He knew the collapse was coming. He sensed the storm early, jumped first, and left everyone else wondering what exactly he saw behind those locker room doors. Derrick Rose. In February of 2013, his brother Reggie Rose made a comment that flipped the narrative around Derrick's absence. While Derrick kept saying he wouldn't return until he felt 110% healthy, Reggie added fuel to the fire by saying, "It's frustrating to see my brother play his heart and soul out for the team and them not put anything around him." That one line sparked a full-blown theory. Maybe Derrick wasn't just hurt, maybe he was unhappy with the Bulls roster. Fans didn't brush it off. Suddenly, it wasn't just about knees and rehab. It was about whether Derrick was stalling his return because he didn't believe in the team around him. This wasn't some anonymous rumor either. It came from Reggie, Derrick's brother and manager. That made it personal and way harder to ignore. Derrick responded quickly, trying to separate himself from the noise. He said the team's goals were the same as his, to bring a title to Chicago. He didn't slam Reggie's comments, but he also didn't echo them. Meanwhile, Coach Tom Thibodeau backed up the idea that Derrick just wasn't ready, saying he wasn't moving well enough in practice yet. But the timing of Reggie's words couldn't have been worse or juicier. The Bulls were still contenders. Fans were desperate. The theory stuck because it hit that emotional crossroads where loyalty, injury and frustration meet. Reggie may have just vented, but it cracked open a different angle. Was Derrick really just protecting his body? Or was he also holding out for a better team? That tension never fully went away. Larry Bird. The theory says the so-called Bird rule was created just to keep him in Boston, as if the league handed the Celtics a cheat code. On the surface, it makes sense. Bird was a generational player. The Celtics were a legacy franchise, and the rule literally has his name on it. But here's what actually happened. The Bird exception, officially called the qualifying veteran free agent exception, lets teams go over the salary cap to re-sign their own veteran stars. And yes, the Celtics were the first to use it. They re-signed Bird, and the nickname stuck. But here's the catch. Bird signed his huge 7-year extension in 1983, before the salary cap even existed. That means the rule wasn't created to help Boston hold on to Bird. They already had him. The league introduced the salary cap in 1984, aiming for a hard limit at first, but they pivoted to a soft cap model, baking in exceptions like bird rights to avoid situations where teams would be forced to lose star players just because of math. The Celtics weren't getting special treatment. They were just the first name attached to the rule when it launched. Since then, every team's used it. Small markets, big markets. It's not a Boston thing. It's a league-wide mechanism. The whole point was to help teams keep their guys, reward loyalty, and keep fans engaged. The Celtics didn't lobby for it. They just happened to be in the spotlight when the system changed. So while it might feel like the Bird exception was tailor-made for Larry and the Garden, the reality is more boring. It was a league fix, not a Boston favorite. Kawhi Leonard, the shot was iconic. 4 bounces, a hush across the arena, and then bedlam. But ever since that buzzer beater knocked the Sixers out in Game 7, there's been a theory creeping in through the slow motion replays and bitter memories. Did he travel? J.J. Redick was one of the first to point it out publicly. He said Kawhi got a running start off the catch and traveled before even taking the shot. Tobias Harris agreed. Mike Scott didn't hold back either, saying he still thinks it was a travel, then added, "Call me a sore loser." But it wasn't just players venting. Analysts chimed in too, calling it an obvious travel that referees were never going to blow the whistle on with the series on the line. And yet, when the NBA released its last 2-minute report, nothing. No mention of a travel, no blown call logged, no red flag. The silence gave this theory legs. If you freeze the footage just right, it's hard to miss those shuffle steps before he fades toward the corner. And once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. This isn't the only time Kawhi's footwork's come under fire. In 2017, the NBA officially confirmed a missed travel against the Pacers. He switched his pivot foot before hitting a game winner, and the league had to admit they missed it. So maybe that shot should have never counted. Maybe the bounce should have never happened. But no whistle came. The basket stood, and the legend was born. Whether you call it greatness or a ghost call, the moment lives, because the truth is still walking that baseline. Tim Duncan, with 5.2 seconds left in Game 6 of the 2013 NBA Finals, the Spurs were on the brink of a championship. Ray Allen had just tied it with a 3, and the officials were reviewing whether his shot beat the clock. During that review, when no substitutions are supposed to be allowed, Greg Popovich inserted Tim Duncan back into the game, quietly, illegally. According to Bleacher Report, the NBA later confirmed that the substitution broke the rule. A review is not a dead ball situation, and teams aren't allowed to make changes during that time. But somehow, Duncan was back on the floor for the final possession, unnoticed by refs, untouched by consequence. Now here's where the theory kicks in. Tony Parker took the last shot in regulation. If it had gone in and the Spurs had won on that play, Miami could have filed a protest. That's not speculation. It's in the rulebook. A successful protest might have forced a replay of the final seconds, or even overturned the outcome entirely. Instead, the shot missed. The game went to overtime. The Heat won, and the illegal substitution became a buried footnote. But what if Parker's shot had dropped? What if a last-second championship clincher had been erased because of a sneaky substitution? That's the theory, that a quiet, rule-breaking moment slid by under the radar and could have detonated the entire narrative, not with a missed foul or a bad timeout, with paperwork, with timing, with a substitution that never should have happened. And in that tiny crack in the system, finals history could have fractured. Allen Iverson, near the end of his career, while other aging stars were still landing meaningful contracts, Iverson kept getting the cold shoulder. That's where the theory starts. That it wasn't just about performance, it was about perception. A quiet front office bias, shaped by media narratives and image concerns that kept him out. In 2009, he signed with the Grizzlies, but walked away after 3 games. Then came the Sixers reunion, a non-guaranteed minimum deal with no real commitment. Compare that to Shaquille O'Neal, who was welcomed in Boston, or Tracy McGrady, who signed in Atlanta. They weren't lighting up scoreboards either, but they got secure roles. Iverson, trial contracts, short leashes, and early exits. Fans noticed. In deep dive forums, they called it out. They said the league had decided Iverson was done before he proved it, that executives saw more risk than reward, too much attitude, too many headlines, not enough PR safe. One fan even called it a battle against genius men in suits, framing it as Iverson versus the system. The irony? He was still a draw, still had the handles, still had the fan base, but instead of building around that, teams passed. GQ called him misunderstood. The contract said expendable, so the theory sticks. While other stars were celebrated, Iverson was boxed out, not because he couldn't play, but because the league was done dealing with the image. The theory says he wasn't forced out by decline. He was forced out by perception. No proof, no memo, just a fade out that felt too deliberate to ignore. Charles Barkley. The theory is simple, hilarious, and somehow believable. What if the NBA's most famous analyst doesn't actually watch the NBA? Like, at all. That's not just fan fiction. That's based on Barkley's own words. Let's start with March 2025. Barkley, mid-broadcast, during NCAA coverage, flat out admitted he hadn't watched the game he was supposed to be analyzing. His reason? He was watching Bryant versus Michigan State instead. No shame, just vibes. That's the moment this theory got a fresh jolt of life. But the breadcrumbs go way back. Years earlier, Barkley said he'd rather watch the NHL playoffs than the NBA's, praising the intensity and balance of hockey. Then there's that old quote from 2016. He said with a straight face that he doesn't watch much NBA outside of his job. Not, I'm too busy, not I'll catch the highlights. Just nope, pass. So the fan theory became canon. Barkley doesn't prep, he doesn't scout, he just shows up, tells stories, and lets Shaq do the yelling. And the wild part, it works. Fans love it. The I didn't watch gimmick has become a part of his brand. It's unfiltered, ridiculous, and somehow endearing. Whether it's a genuine habit or part of his chaotic genius, the theory lives because the man keeps feeding it. And maybe that's the point. He doesn't need the tape. He's Charles Barkley. He is the take. LaMelo Ball. Before the 2020 NBA draft, a quiet buzz started building. And it wasn't about his shooting form or his fit with top lottery teams. It was the theory that LaMelo was angling for one destination, New York. Multiple league insiders said teams were well aware that LaMelo wanted to be a Knick. Not hoped, wanted. Then there was LeVar Ball, never one to stay quiet. He publicly said more than once that LaMelo should land in New York, even calling it the perfect place for his son. And when LeVar talks, people listen, even when they roll their eyes doing it. When LaMelo sat down for draft combine interviews, the mystery deepened. Asked if the Knicks had interviewed him, he gave a simple, yeah, but when pressed on whether they might trade up to get him, he dodged. That I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. That kind of cryptic answer only fanned the flames. It wasn't just a pipe dream either. The Knicks were in the lottery. The media was all over it. Bleacher Report and SNY both reported his interest. But the draft order didn't bend in his favor. The Hornets picked third and took him before the Knicks had a shot. So here's the theory. LaMelo was campaigning behind the scenes. He wanted the lights, the market, the moment in New York. Whether through media, family, or guarded interview answers, he was trying to make it happen. But the ping pong balls had other plans. New York missed, Charlotte called, and the rest became Hornets history. But the what if never really left the garden. Zion Williamson. Before he ever played a second in the NBA, his name was already tied to one of the most controversial college recruitment stories in years. The theory that his rise to Duke, and possibly his entire path, was boosted by gifts, housing, and luxury cars provided to his family by Nike, Adidas, or Duke-connected figures. The claims didn't come from thin air. They came from a legal battle. In May 2020, marketing agent Gina Ford filed court documents asking Zion to admit his parents received benefits to influence his college and sneaker decisions. Her filings weren't subtle. They mentioned housing tied to a Duke alum and multiple luxury SUVs under the family's name, while Zion was still in school. Later, court documents went further, alleging that Adidas paid his family over $5,000 back in 2016 and 2017, well before he put on a Duke jersey. Media outlets picked up the story fast, from ESPN to CBS Sports, with headlines linking Zion's family to improper benefits from multiple brands. But here's the twist. Despite the noise, no penalties ever came. And legally, Zion won. In 2024, a federal court ruled he was protected under student-athlete status at the time. That voided Ford's contract and crushed her claims. So the theory lives in the gap between allegation and action. Could luxury perks and brand loyalty have nudged one of college basketball's biggest stars toward Duke? The court said no. The NCAA stayed silent. But the whispers never really stopped, because when the benefits look that shiny and the timing lines up that cleanly, the theory's going to follow. Blake Griffin. The 2011 slam dunk contest was supposed to be about Showtime dunks, not spreadsheets and score sheets. But here's the theory. Griffin's victory was written before he even stepped on the court, and the numbers fans say give it away. Let's look at the first round. Griffin put up a strong 49, then followed it with a backboard windmill dunk. Good, but by most accounts, not elite level difficult. The judges gave it a 46. DeMar, meanwhile, uncorked a high difficulty jam and got a perfect 50. Sounds fair? Until you add it up. Griffin, 49 plus 46 equals 95. DeMar, 44 plus 50 equals 94. A 1-point margin, just enough to push Griffin past DeMar, and that 46, that's the number that lit the fuse. Bleacher Report ran a full piece suggesting the judges were in on it. The internet spun up posts claiming not only was it rigged, but that JaVale McGee may have been in on it too. And then came the rumor bomb, a memo, allegedly from the league, listing Griffin as the contest winner before the event even began. It was never confirmed, but fans ran with it. Griffin would go on to beat McGee in the final by fan vote, 68% to 32. But here's where the theory sharpens. Fans didn't vote on round one. Judges did, and if the first round scores were manipulated, the entire final becomes suspect. Some writers pointed to the NBA's need for spectacle that year. Griffin was a high-flying rookie. The dunk contest needed buzz, and the league was heading into uncertain waters with a looming lockout. Griffin jumping over a car was good for business. So was it a coronation dressed up as competition? A ratings move disguised as a dunk contest? That 46 still hangs in the air. Carmelo Anthony. The theory says he pulled off one of the sneakiest contract chess moves the league's ever seen. Back in 2018, Carmelo chose to opt into the final year of his deal with Oklahoma City, locking in a juicy $27.9 million paycheck. Now here's where it gets wild. The theory claims he knew exactly what he was doing. The team wasn't planning to keep him. That much was clear. But by staying on the books, he could collect the full amount and still hit the market once they either traded or waived. So what did the Thunder do? They started sniffing around for deals and even had the waive and stretch provision ready. And guess what? Melo played along. He waived his no-trade clause, which cleared the way for movement. The Thunder used that stretch rule to turn his nearly $28 million into a manageable hit over 3 seasons. That move saved them a ton in luxury tax and gave them some financial breathing room. Then came the real kicker. Once he was off the Thunder's hands, he joined the Houston Rockets. That meant a team with James Harden and Chris Paul just added Carmelo without paying a cent of that massive Oklahoma City contract. According to the theory, that was the plan all along. Melo secured the money and landed exactly where he wanted, on a title-hungry team with stars he already had chemistry with. If this was his plan, it worked. The timing, the waiver, the destination, every part of it lined up too perfectly to ignore. Sometimes the quietest moves are the most. Malice at the Palace. The Malice at the Palace happened on November 19, 2004, during a game between the Indiana Pacers and Detroit Pistons at the Palace of Auburn Hill. The Pacers were up 97-82 with just 45.9 seconds left when things got wild. It all started when Pistons' Ben Wallace was fouled hard by Ron Artest. Wallace shoved Artest, and that sparked a scuffle between players. To cool off, Artest laid down on the scorer's table and put on a headset to talk to the Pacers radio announcer. But then a fan threw a plastic cup of Diet Coke at Artest. He wasn't having it and charged into the stands, mistakenly attacking a fan named Michael Ryan. His teammate, Steven Jackson, jumped in and joined the chaos in the stands. Meanwhile, some fans rushed onto the court and more fights broke out. Pacers Jermaine O'Neal and Anthony Johnson had their own fan confrontations, with the game totally out of control. The refs called it off, declaring the Pacers the winners. Artest got an 86-game suspension, Jackson 30 games, and O'Neal 15. The NBA had to change its security policies afterward, and it also impacted the Pacers' performance for years to come. Knicks versus Nuggets brawl. On December 16, 2006, a wild brawl broke out between the New York Knicks and the Denver Nuggets at Madison Square Garden. With about 1 minute 15 seconds left in the game, the Nuggets were up 119-100. Knicks rookie Marty Collins committed a flagrant foul on J.R. Smith during a fast break attempt, which set off the chaos. Smith tried to confront Collins, but Knicks' Nate Robinson stepped in, causing a scuffle that spilled into the courtside seats. After things calmed down, Carmelo Anthony approached Collins and punched him in the face. Jared Jeffries tried to retaliate, but he was quickly restrained. As a result, all 10 players on the court were ejected. The incident had major consequences for both teams. The Nuggets went on to acquire Allen Iverson to help with their playoff push, while the Knicks finished the season with a 33-49 record. Both coaches, Isaiah Thomas of the Knicks and George Karl of the Nuggets, came under fire for their roles in the brawl. The media was all over it, with many criticizing Anthony's action. Draymond Green versus Jordan Poole. On October 5th, 2022, tensions boiled over during a Golden State Warriors practice session, resulting in an infamous altercation between Draymond Green and Jordan Poole. The Warriors were fresh off a championship season, but contract issues and personal tensions began to affect the team dynamics. Poole was entering the final year of his rookie contract, seeking an extension, while Green was navigating his own contract situation. The argument between Green and Poole escalated quickly, with Poole shoving Green. In response, Green punched Poole in the face, knocking him to the ground. The situation took a turn for the worse when a video of the punch was leaked, sparking massive media attention. The Warriors responded by fining Green, but not suspending him, allowing him to continue practicing with the team. Green later publicly apologized for his actions, acknowledging the damage to team chemistry. The incident created a rift within the Warriors, and both Green and Poole's performances were affected during the season. In June 2023, Poole was traded to the Washington Wizards in exchange for Chris Paul. Green later reflected on the incident, calling it a learning experience. Despite the fallout, Poole's performance has improved, even scoring a career-high 38 points in January 2025. Kermit Washington versus Rudy Tomjanovich. On December 9, 1977, an incident occurred between Kermit Washington of the Los Angeles Lakers and Rudy Tomjanovich of the Houston Rockets that would become one of the most infamous moments in NBA history. The game was at the Forum in Inglewood, California, when a scuffle broke out between Lakers Kareem and Rockets Kevin Coonard. Washington, trying to protect Kareem, got involved, and as the fight intensified, Rudy Tomjanovich ran from the other side of the court to break it up. Washington, with his back turned, saw movement, and fearing an attack, turned and threw a punch that hit Tomjanovich in the face, knocking him unconscious. Tomjanovich suffered severe injuries, including a broken nose, jaw, skull fractures, and spinal injuries. He also had spinal fluid leaking into his mouth, which made him believe the scoreboard had fallen on him. Washington was suspended for 60 days and fined $10,000. He faced heavy public backlash and even death threats. Tomjanovich missed the rest of the season but made a remarkable recovery, returning the following year and earning an All-Star selection in 1979 Shaq-Barkley fight. On November 10, 1999, an altercation broke out between two NBA legends, Shaquille O'Neal and Charles Barkley, during a game between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Houston Rockets. The game took a dramatic turn when O'Neal blocked a layup attempt by Barkley. After the block, O'Neal shoved Barkley, which led to Barkley retaliating by throwing the basketball at O'Neal's face. The incident resulted in both players being ejected from the game. The NBA fined O'Neal $10,000 for throwing a punch and Barkley $5,000 for throwing the basketball. Despite the heated moment, both players quickly made amends. They later appeared together on TNT's Inside the NBA show, laughing about the incident and even playfully demonstrating a headlock on air. The scuffle was all in good fun, and it was clear that any tension had been resolved. While the fight was one of the most memorable moments of their careers, it didn't impact their friendship, and it became more of a joke between the two. Over the years, the playful rivalry continued to be a source of humor for both of them, adding to their on-screen chemistry. Their antics and lighthearted approach to the incident have become a fan-favorite moment, showcasing the bond they shared despite the altercation. Draymond Green versus Rudy Gobert. On November 14, 2023, tensions boiled over in a game between the Golden State Warriors and the Minnesota Timberwolves at the Target Center. The game took a turn early when Warriors guard Klay Thompson and Timberwolves forward Jaden McDaniels got tangled up. Thompson held McDaniels' jersey while waiting for a rebound, causing McDaniels to rip the jersey. Rudy Gobert tried to break up the scuffle by pulling Thompson away. That's when Draymond Green stepped in, approaching from behind and placing Gobert in a headlock, pulling him away from the altercation. The struggle was brief, but it escalated quickly, and all three players, Green, Gobert, and Thompson, were ejected from the game. The NBA wasted no time, announcing a 5-game suspension for Green the next day for escalating an on-court altercation, marking the longest suspension for an on-court incident under Commissioner Adam Silver's tenure. Green didn't regret his actions, stating his commitment to defending teammates. Gobert, on the other hand, called Green's behavior clown behavior. This altercation only added to the growing rivalry between the two, which dates back to 2017. While the Timberwolves secured the win, the Warriors struggled without Green, going 2-3 in his absence. Green's suspension didn't just impact the team's record, but also highlighted the ongoing tension between the two players, further fueling their rivalry. Despite the heated moment, the incident only seemed to strengthen Green's resolve to defend his teammates at any cost. Lakers-Celtics fight. During Game 4 of the 1984 NBA Finals, the Boston Celtics were trailing both in the game and the series, with the momentum heavily favoring the Los Angeles Lakers. The incident began when Lakers forward Kurt Rambis grabbed a rebound and started a fast break for a layup. As Rambis approached the basket, Celtics forward Kevin McHale delivered a hard foul, extending his arm to stop Rambis' progress. The impact of McHale's foul sent Rambis crashing to the floor, sparking a brief scuffle between the players. Rambis tried to confront McHale, but teammates and officials quickly intervened to prevent further escalation. Surprisingly, no technical fouls or ejections were given, and the game continued with Rambis shooting free throws. The altercation seemed to shift the momentum in the Celtics' favor, and they ended up winning Game 4 in overtime, tying the series at 2 games apiece. The Celtics ultimately went on to win the championship, taking the series in 7 games. The incident became a turning point as the Celtics' physical play continued to frustrate the Lakers, setting the tone for the remainder of the finals. Reflecting on the incident, McHale later said that if he had planned the foul, he would have targeted bigger Lakers stars like Magic Johnson or Kareem, not Rambis. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to start posting every day. Thanks. Anyway, Michael Jordan versus Reggie Miller. Michael Jordan and Reggie Miller, two of the most legendary shooting guards in NBA history, had a fierce and sometimes heated rivalry on the court. It all started during the 1987 preseason when rookie Miller tried to trash talk Jordan. Jordan responded by scoring 40 points to Miller's 2 in the second half, finishing with 44 points compared to Miller's 12. Jordan later warned Miller, saying, "Be sure and be careful you never talk to Black Jesus like that." Their rivalry continued in the 1993 regular season when the two clashed physically. Jordan elbowed Miller in the throat, and Miller pushed back, leading to punches being thrown and Miller's ejection. The NBA later suspended Jordan for 1 game due to his role in the altercation. Their competitive fire carried into the playoffs, with the two facing off in the 1998 Eastern Conference Finals. In Game 4, Miller hit a clutch 3-pointer over Jordan with 0.7 seconds left, giving the Pacers a 96-94 victory. Despite Miller's efforts, including a 22-point performance in Game 7, the Bulls moved on to win their 6th championship. Their rivalry became a defining aspect of the late 90s NBA, with Miller pushing Jordan to be at his best. While Jordan wasn't a fan of Miller's playing style, Miller respected Jordan's legacy and always viewed the Bulls as the ultimate benchmark for success. LeBron James versus Isaiah Stewart. On November 21st, 2021, during a game between the Los Angeles Lakers and Detroit Pistons at Little Caesars Arena, a heated altercation erupted between LeBron James, a rare moment of tension for James, known for his calm demeanor, while Stewart's intense reaction added fuel to the rivalry. Both players later reflected on the altercation, acknowledging the heightened emotions that led to the incident. Chris Childs versus Kobe Bryant. On April 2nd, 2000, during a game between the New York Knicks and the Los Angeles Lakers at the Staples Center, tensions flared between Knicks guard Chris Childs and Lakers star Kobe Bryant. Late in the third quarter, with the Lakers leading 77-61, Childs became frustrated with Bryant's repeated elbowing while trying to defend against 3-point shots. In retaliation, Childs threw 2 quick punches, landing one on Bryant's neck and the other on his jaw. Both players were ejected from the game immediately after the altercation. Childs later reflected on the incident, saying he decided to throw a punt, then run. Bryant, on the other hand, described it differently, saying, "The little punk decided to sneak me. I didn't think he was going to do that." The fight added to the growing rivalry between the two players, with both having strong opinions on what went down. While the altercation was brief, it became a memorable moment in their careers. The incident sparked more intense competition when the two teams met again, and both players kept the tension alive with their comments about the altercation. Tree Rollins' Danny Ainge incident. In Game 3 of the 1983 Eastern Conference first round, the Boston Celtics faced off against the Atlanta Hawks, and a dramatic altercation occurred between Celtics guard Danny Ainge and Hawks center Tree Rollins. The fight began when Rollins elbowed Ainge in the face near the basket, causing Ainge to retaliate by tackling Rollins to the court. As the scuffle unfolded, Rollins took it to another level by biting Ainge's middle finger, leaving a significant injury that required stitches. Ainge was ejected from the game for initiating the altercation, but despite his absence, the Celtics won the series 2-1. The incident made headlines, with the Boston Herald famously running the headline, "Tree Bites Man," This moment became a part of basketball lore and added to the intensity and physicality of playoff basketball during the early 80s. The phrase "tree bites man" became a humorous reference in the years that followed, often used in discussions about the most bizarre moments in NBA history. The altercation marked a unique moment of physicality and drama that was typical of playoff basketball in that era. The incident is still remembered today as one of the most infamous on-court altercations of its time. Knicks versus Bulls brawl. The rivalry between the New York Knicks and the Chicago Bulls in the 1990s was defined by intense competition and unforgettable confrontations. One of the most memorable incidents took place on May 19, 1994, during Game 3 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. The series was significant because it marked the first time the Knicks overcame the Bulls in a playoff series, with the Knicks eventually winning the series in 7 games. During this game, a scuffle broke out between Knicks' point guard Derek Harper and Bulls guard JoJo English. The altercation quickly escalated and both players ended up tumbling into the stands, creating a chaotic scene. The brawl occurred right next to NBA Commissioner David Stern, who was seated courtside. As a result of the fight, both Harper and English received technical fouls. The tension between the two teams was already at a fever pitch, with both sides playing aggressive, physical basketball throughout the series. The altercation only intensified the rivalry, leading to a heightened sense of urgency for the remaining game. The incident further fueled the animosity between the Knicks and the Bulls, pushing both teams to play even harder as the series continued. This added to the already high tension between the two teams, highlighting the fierce competitiveness of the series. The incident became a symbol of the escalating intensity of the Knicks-Bulls rivalry during that era and emphasized the physical and emotional nature of playoff basketball in the 1990s. Larry Bird versus Dr. J. The rivalry between Larry Bird of the Boston Celtics and Julius Erving of the Philadelphia Sixers stands as one of the most iconic in NBA history. Their on-court battles in the late 1970s and early 1980s not only defined their careers, but also raised the competitive spirit of the league to new heights. One of the most notable moments occurred on November 9, 1984, when Bird and Irving became involved in a scuffle during a game at the Boston Garden. The altercation escalated into a fistfight, a significant moment considering both players' reputations and standing in the league. The Celtics and Sixers faced off multiple times in the Eastern Conference Finals, with their intense matchups in 1980, 1981, 1982, and 1985 being pivotal in shaping both teams' legacies. Each of these playoff encounters showcased the personal animosity between Bird and Irving, with both players elevating their performances to new level. Their rivalry was so legendary that it even inspired the 1983 video game One-on-One, Dr. J versus Larry Bird, allowing fans to simulate the head-to-head matchups between the two legends. Their battles in these high-stakes games became essential to the narrative of the NBA during that era, and their performances inspired countless future generations of players. The fierce competition between Bird and Irving remains one of the defining chapters in NBA history. The intensity of their battles became a defining feature of the rivalry, which pushed the boundaries of competitiveness in the league. Sixers versus Pistons brawl. On April 19, 1990, a notorious brawl erupted between the Philadelphia Sixers and Detroit Pistons during a regular season game at the Palace of Auburn Hills in Michigan. The Sixers were aiming to clinch the Atlantic Division title, their first since 1983, while the Pistons were defending NBA champions, known for their physical play. With just 14.8 seconds left and the Sixers leading 105-95, Rick Mahorn dunked the ball, signaling an impending victory. Pistons' Dennis Rodman fouled Mahorn on the play, leading to a brief exchange of gestures. Bill Laimbeer then approached Mahorn and shoved the ball into his face, provoking a response from Charles Barkley. Barkley charged at Laimbeer, landing punches, including one under Laimbeer's eye. The altercation quickly escalated, with players from both teams rushing onto the court, turning the scene chaotic and spilling into the stands. As both teams' tempers flared, the rivalry between the two sides was on full display. The benches cleared, and the melee lasted about 10 minutes before order was restored. The Sixers won the game 107-97, but Barkley, Laimbeer, and Scott Hastings were ejected. Each player was fined $20,000 and suspended for 1 game, and additional fines were imposed on 10 other players who left the bench. Hero versus Amin. On December 29, 2024, a significant altercation broke out during a game between the Miami Heat and Houston Rockets at the Toyota Center in Houston. With 35 seconds remaining and the Heat leading 99-94, Rockets forward Amen Thompson and Heat guard Tyler Hero became entangled during an inbound play. Thompson grabbed Hero's jersey and threw him forcefully to the floor, sparking a chaotic scene. Players from both teams rushed onto the court, engaging in pushing, shoving, and verbal exchanges. The altercation led to 6 ejections from the Heat, Tyler Hero, and Terry Rozier. From the Rockets, Amen Thompson and Jalen Green, and from the coaching staff, Rockets head coach Udoka and assistant coach Ben Sullivan. The scuffle drew the attention of fans and analysts, highlighting the growing intensity of the game. Following the incident, the NBA reviewed the situation and imposed penalties. Thompson was suspended for 2 games, Rozier was suspended for 1 game, and Green and Hero were fined $35,000 and $25,000, respectively. Udoka was fined $50,000 for verbally abusing a game official and failing to leave the court promptly after his ejection. Despite the late game turmoil, the Heat won the game 104-100, with Hero leading all scorers with 27 points. Afterward, Hero attributed the altercation to competitive play, while Thompson did not comment, and Udoka acknowledged the need to manage emotions better. Kareem versus Benson. The altercation between Kareem and Kent Benson during the 1977-1978 NBA season is a notable example of the physicality that characterized early professional basketball. The incident took place in the opening game of the season when the Milwaukee Bucks faced the Los Angeles Lakers. Approximately 2 minutes into the game, rookie Kent Benson, trying to establish position, elbowed Kareem in the abdomen. Feeling provoked, Kareem retaliated by punching Benson in the face, knocking him to the floor. Benson suffered a black eye and needed 2 stitches, while Kareem broke his right hand with the punch, sidelining him for nearly 2 months and causing him to miss 20 games. The altercation turned heads and became a symbol of the aggressive play that defined the era. As a result, Kareem was fined $5,000, a record at the time, but was not suspended. Benson missed 1 game, but faced no league-imposed penalties. Benson described the elbow as unintentional, claiming nothing malicious, while Kareem later acknowledged his actions were out of character. Reflecting on the incident as a learning experience, the incident highlighted the intensity of competition during that period and the physical toll it often took. The Lakers, without Kareem, struggled, posting an 8-13 record during his absence, but his return helped stabilize the team. Suns versus Knicks brawl. On March 23, 1993, the Phoenix Suns and New York Knicks engaged in a significant brawl during a game at the Phoenix Veterans Memorial Coliseum. The altercation began when Suns guard Kevin Johnson and Knicks guard Doc Rivers got into a scuffle as the first half came to a close. Things escalated when Knicks guard Greg Anthony, who was sidelined due to injury and in street clothes, entered the fray and punched Johnson. What started as a small skirmish quickly evolved into a bench-clearing brawl involving players and coaches from both teams. The chaotic scene saw Knicks head coach Pat Riley attempting to separate the players, and in the process, his pants ripped during the commotion. The incident shocked fans and highlighted the intensity of the matchup. As a result of the incident, several suspensions and fines were handed out. Greg Anthony was suspended 5 games and fined $20,500, while Kevin Johnson and Doc Rivers were both suspended 2 games and fined $15,000 and $10,000, respectively. The New York Knicks were fined $50,000 and the Phoenix Suns were fined $25,000. Despite the turmoil, the Suns went on to win the game 121-92, with Charles Barkley leading the team with 23 points and 12 rebounds. The brawl became one of the most infamous moments of the season, adding to the fierce rivalry between the teams. Pistons versus Magic altercation. On December 28, 2022, a significant altercation occurred during a game between the Detroit Pistons and the Orlando Magic at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. With less than a minute remaining in the first half, Magic forward Mo Wagner shoved Pistons guard Killian Hayes near the sideline, causing Hayes to stumble into the Pistons bench. In retaliation, Hayes punched Wagner in the back of the head as he was getting up, causing Wagner to appear briefly unconscious. The scene was chaotic, with the crowd reacting loudly to the sudden violence. Pistons forward Hamidou Diallo then pushed Wagner from behind, escalating the situation. Both teams' benches were visibly upset, and the intensity of the moment added fuel to the fire. All 3 players were ejected from the game as a result. Following the altercation, several suspensions were handed out. Killian Hayes was suspended for 3 games, Mo Wagner for 2 games, and Hamidou Diallo for 1 game. Additionally, 8 Magic players, Cole Anthony, Mo Bamba, Wendell Carter, RJ Hampton, Gary Harris, Franz Wagner, Kevin Harris, and Admiral Schofield were each suspended 1 game for leaving the bench during the altercation. Despite the chaos, the Pistons secured a 121-101 victory over the Magic. Lakers vs. Thunder met a world peace incident on April 22, 2012, during a playoff game between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Lakers forward Metta World Peace made headlines for delivering a significant elbow to the head of Thunder guard James Harden. The incident occurred shortly after World Peace celebrated a dunk by raising his arms, inadvertently striking Harden, who was nearby. The elbow landed with force, and Harden immediately dropped to the floor, visibly shaken. World Peace, known for his aggressive playing style, was immediately ejected from the game for his actions. Harden, on the receiving end of the elbow, suffered a concussion and was sidelined for the remainder of the game. The blow was a turning point in the series, as it altered the Thunder's lineup and changed the momentum. The NBA swiftly reviewed the incident and imposed a 7-game suspension on World Peace, which included the final game of the regular season and the first 6 games of the Lakers' playoff run. Teammates and coaches voiced their concern over World Peace's actions, stressing the importance of maintaining composure, especially during critical playoff games. The incident drew significant attention, both for its impact on the game and the suspension that followed. This moment remains one of the most infamous on-court altercations in NBA history, often referenced in discussions about player conduct and discipline during high-stakes games. Larry Bird versus Bill Laimbeer. The rivalry between Larry Bird of the Boston Celtics and Bill Laimbeer of the Detroit Pistons is one of the most legendary in NBA history, defined by intense competition and memorable confrontations. One of the most notable moments occurred during Game 3 of the 1987 Eastern Conference Finals. The Celtics and Pistons were battling fiercely, and with the shot clock expiring, Bird attempted a basket, but was pulled down from behind by Laimbeer, causing Bird to crash to the floor. The impact left Bird shaken, and he immediately rose to confront Laimbeer, leading to a heated exchange. This led to an on-court scuffle between the two players, which resulted in both being ejected from the game. The confrontation caught the attention of fans and analysts, who saw it as a reflection of the larger rivalry between the teams. Following the altercation, Bird was fined $2,000, while Laimbeer received a $5,000 fine for their roles in the incident. Bird expressed his deep disdain for Laimbeer, criticizing his aggressive tactics as disrespectful to the game. Laimbeer, on the other hand, defended his physical style, often downplaying the severity of his actions. The Bird-Laimbeer confrontations became symbolic of the fierce Celtics-Pistons rivalry in the 1980s, helping to shape one of the NBA's most intense rivalries. The altercations added fuel to the drama of the series, making it one of the most memorable playoff matchups in history. Embiid versus Towns brawl. On October 30th, 2019, a notable altercation occurred during a game between the Philadelphia Sixers and the Minnesota Timberwolves, involving star centers Joel Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns. The tension began in the first quarter, when Embiid elbowed Towns, leading to Towns pushing Embiid, followed by a verbal exchange between the two. The back and forth between the two players was heated, with both expressing frustration over the physicality of the game. In the third quarter, the conflict escalated when Embiid and Towns engaged in a wrestling match on the court, with Embiid attempting a chokehold. The crowd roared as both players struggled to break free from each other, adding to the intensity of the moment. Teammates, including Ben Simmons, quickly intervened to separate them. Both players were ejected from the game for their roles in the altercation. The drama didn't end on the court, as the NBA reviewed the situation and suspended both players for 2 games without pay. Following the game, Embiid and Towns continued their dispute on social media, each downplaying the other's role in the fight. The altercation sparked widespread discussion among fans and analysts, with opinions split on who instigated the fight and whether their actions were justified. The brawl became one of the most talked about moments of the season, adding fuel to the rivalry between the two star centers and further intensifying the drama surrounding their on-court interactions. Brian Scalabrine, drafted in the second round back in 2001, Scal bounced around for 11 seasons and made stops in New Jersey, Boston, and Chicago. He only averaged 3 points a game and barely 2 rebounds, logging just over 13 minutes per outing. But somehow, he managed to carve out a career longer than most. He won a ring with Boston in 2008 and showed up in back-to-back finals with New Jersey. The numbers? Not impressive. His highest season average was just over 6 points, but fans latched onto him anyway. They gave him nicknames, watched him win a one-on-one challenge against viewers, and turned him into a bit of a cult icon. Even after he retired, he stayed close to the game as a commentator and assistant coach. In 2025, he was even praised for spotting Cooper Flagg's talent early. Scal may not have lit up the scoreboard, but he outlasted expectations, kept a job in the league, and turned limited production into lasting relevance. His defense? Serviceable. His offense? Forgettable. But his legacy? Way more entertaining than his stat sheet ever was. Killian Hayes. Taken 7th overall in 2020, Hayes arrived in Detroit with big expectations. But after a hip injury early in his rookie year, things just never quite clicked. His stats across 4 seasons hovered around 8 points, 5 assists, and under 3 boards per game. And those shooting numbers? Rough. He posted some of the worst efficiency metrics in the league, especially in his first 3 years. He never cleared 42.6% in effective field goal percentage. And in 2023, he had the lowest field goal percentage in the entire NBA. Still, there were flashes. His passing vision and left-hand playmaking stood out. In the G League, he looked sharper, averaging over 20 points and 8 assists, while finally hitting threes at over 40%. He even earned a short NBA stint with Brooklyn in 2025. But between inconsistent shooting and limited bursts, his place in the league never felt secure, even with those brief improvements showing up late. Anthony Bennett, picked 1st overall in 2013, Bennett came into the league with high hopes and left with one of the most talked about draft bust labels ever. He didn't score a single field goal until his 5th NBA game and finished his rookie year averaging just over 4 points on 35% shooting. After that, things didn't improve much. He bounced from Cleveland to Minnesota, then Toronto, and finally Brooklyn. Across 151 games, he put up career averages of 4.4 points and 3.1 rebounds. He became the first #1 pick ever sent to the NBA Development League. Overseas, same story. He barely cracked 1 point per game in the EuroLeague and got waived more times than he started. He's played in Israel, Taiwan, and most recently, Bahrain. Drafted ahead of Giannis, Bennett's career is one of the clearest examples of potential gone sideways. His defense, not memorable. His offense, even less. Sim Bhullar, standing at 7'5", Bhullar became the first player of Indian descent to appear in an NBA game, but his time on the court was almost non-existent. He played just 3 games for the Sacramento Kings, logging under 3 total minutes. That's right, less than 1 minute per game, with career averages under 1 point, 1 assist, and 1 rebound. But before that, he had a solid college run at New Mexico State, blocking shots and winning awards in the WAC. In the G League, he recorded a triple-double with blocks, and in Taiwan, he dominated, putting up video game numbers like 50 points and 35 rebounds in a single game. So while his NBA impact was microscopic, he thrived elsewhere. His defense showed up overseas, but his mobility and stamina never matched NBA speed. Technically, one of the least effective players in league history, sure, but globally, he found ways to leave a much bigger footprint. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Luke Walton, drafted 32nd overall. In 2003, Walton spent most of his playing career with the Lakers before wrapping it up in Cleveland. He played in 564 games, started 138, and averaged just under 5 points with a little under 3 rebounds and 2 assists per game. His best season came in 2007 when he posted over 11 points per game while starting 60 times. Though his numbers were modest, he won 2 titles with Los Angeles in 2009 and 2010. After retiring, Walton joined the Warriors as an assistant and filled in as interim head coach during their historic 24-game win streak. He later became head coach of the Lakers and Kings, though neither stint produced playoff success. His coaching record, a combined 166 wins and 241 losses. Now, he's an assistant in Detroit. Also worth noting, he's part of the first father-son duo to both win multiple NBA championships, joining his Hall of Fame dad, Bill Walton. Dejana Diop, drafted 8th overall. In 2001, Diop came into the league straight out of high school with raw athleticism and elite size. Over 12 seasons, he played in 601 games, but only started 93, averaging just 2 points and under 4 rebounds per game. Offensively, his production was nearly non-existent. He shot under 47% from the free throw line and didn't average even half an assist. But his defense was his calling card. At his peak, he ranked 4th in blocks per 48 minutes league-wide and helped Dallas make a deep playoff run in 2006. He averaged over 1 block per game across his career and once pulled down 16 boards in a single game. After retiring, Jop found his groove in coaching, working with the Jazz and Rockets before becoming head coach of the Westchester Knicks. He's now won back-to-back G League Winter Showcase titles, proving there's more to basketball legacy than just stat lines. Hayashim Thabit, picked second overall in 2009, Thabit entered the league as a 7'3" shot-blocking machine out of UConn. But right away, things went sideways. He averaged just over 3 points and 3 rebounds in his rookie season and was sent to the D-League before the year even ended, the highest drafted player ever to get demoted at the time. Over 5 NBA seasons, he played in 224 games, starting just 20, with career averages of 2.2 points and under 3 boards in about 10 minutes per game. He bounced from Memphis to Houston, Portland, and Oklahoma City, never finding a consistent role. Still, he didn't quit. He kept playing in the G League and overseas, in Japan, Taiwan, and Tanzania, where he won awards, led leagues in rebounding, and captured titles. His defense overseas turned dominant, but his NBA career remains one of the clearest examples of massive expectations that never turned into production on the biggest stage. Sun Yu, drafted 40th overall in 2007, Sun finally joined the Lakers a year later, but barely saw the floor. He played in just 10 games, averaged under 3 minutes, and scored a total of 6 points. That's not per game, that's 6 points total. He never hit a 3 or free throw in the NBA and shot just 27% from the field. A bout with mononucleosis delayed his debut, and after getting waived in 2009, he never played in another NBA game. Still, he technically won a ring in 2009, making him the first ethnic Chinese player with an NBA title. Back in China, his career took off. He helped the Beijing Ducks win 2 CBA championships, returned to the All-Star game with the Royal Fighters, and put up steady numbers until retiring in 2021. So while his NBA impact was nearly non-existent, his defense, playmaking, success in China gave him a much stronger career arc overall. Jan Vesely, drafted 6th overall in 2011, Vesely was billed as an explosive, athletic forward with sky-high potential. But across 3 NBA seasons, he never found rhythm. He played in 162 games and averaged just 3.6 points and 3.5 rebounds per game. His free throw shooting was historically bad, just 40.8%. Even with solid field goal efficiency, he couldn't stay on the floor, bouncing between Washington and Denver before heading back to Europe in 2014. That's where things changed. He became a dominant force with Fenerbahce, winning the EuroLeague title, grabbing MVP honors, and stacking Turkish League championships. Later, he signed with Barcelona, continuing his elite run before a knee injury sidelined him in early 2025. While his NBA stint fizzled out, his defense, mobility, and rebounding turned him into a EuroLeague star. What looked like a bust turned into one of the strongest international rebounds in recent memory. Frank Ntilikina, drafted 8th overall in 2017. Ntilikina came in as a long, defensive-minded guard with international hype and a 7-foot wingspan. But over 6 seasons and 321 games, he averaged just 4.8 points on 36.9% shooting. His 3-point percentage never broke 33% consistently, and he never averaged more than 6.3 points per season. He bounced from the Knicks to the Mavericks, and briefly to the Hornets, where he played just 5 games before getting waived. In playoff action, he barely saw minutes and didn't produce. Though praised for his defense early, he never developed as a playmaker, averaging just over 2 assists per game. His offensive efficiency tanked in his final NBA seasons. After leaving the league, he joined Partizan in 2024 and improved his shooting across the board while helping them win championships in both the ABA League and Serbian League. So yes, his NBA run was statistically disappointing, but his recent turnaround in Europe keeps the story from being a total collapse. Cristiano Felicio, undrafted out of Brazil, Felicio signed with the Chicago Bulls in 2015 and went on to play 252 NBA games, starting 20 of them. He averaged 4.3 points and 3.9 rebounds in just over 14 minutes per game. His best season came in 2018, putting up 5.6 points with a career-high 17 points against New York and 16 rebounds versus Orlando. He shot 57% from the field, but didn't attempt a single 3 across his entire NBA career. His free throw percentage sat at 67%. Though he had moments off the bench, he never became a consistent presence. After leaving the NBA in 2021, he moved to Germany, then Spain, and currently plays in Japan. He also played for Brazil in the Olympics and World Cup, picking up medals and contributing to multiple national squads. His defense showed up more in international play, but in the NBA, he was mostly remembered as a low-impact big with limited range and rotation value. Adam Morrison, picked 3rd overall. In 2006, Morrison entered the NBA as a scoring machine, fresh off, leading the nation in points at Gonzaga. His rookie season with Charlotte showed flashes. He averaged nearly 12 points per game, but shot just 37% from the field. Then came the ACL tear. He missed all of the next season, and when he returned, the numbers fell off a cliff. Over his final 2 years, split between Charlotte and the Lakers, he never averaged more than 4 points a game. He finished his NBA career with just 7.5 points per game on 37% shooting across 161 games. Despite barely playing, he did win 2 titles with the Lakers. After the NBA, he played briefly overseas, then returned to Gonzaga as a student assistant and later a commentator. His defense and advanced metrics almost non-existent, but off the court, he found purpose, using his platform to support diabetes awareness and building a solid media presence tied to his college legacy. Yi Jianlian, drafted 6th overall in 2007. Yi was hyped as the next Chinese superstar after Yao Ming, but over 5 NBA seasons, he never found consistent footing. He played in 272 games, averaging just under 8 points and 5 rebounds per game. His best year came with the Nets in 2010, where he posted 12 points and 7 boards. But overall, he shot 40% from the field and 33% from deep. He struggled with physicality and never developed into a reliable two-way threat. After leaving the league, he returned to the Chinese Basketball Association and became a dominant force, winning 6 championships, 5 MVPs, and making 12 All-Star appearances. Internationally, he represented China in 4 Olympics and led the national team in multiple FIBA events. His defense and leadership anchored China's roster for over a decade. While his NBA run was considered a letdown by draft standards, his career in China turned him into one of the greatest CBA players of all time. Kwame Brown, drafted straight out of high school as the #1 pick in 2001, the expectations were massive, but over 12 seasons and 7 teams, things never quite took off. Across over 600 games, Brown averaged just 6.6 points and 5.5 rebounds per game. Not disastrous, but way below what you'd expect from a top pick. His best season came early, with nearly 11 points and over 7 rebounds per game. After that, nothing really clicked. His time with the Lakers is mostly remembered for being part of the trade that brought Paul Gasol to Los Angeles, a move that ended up helping Kobe Bryant win back-to-back titles. In the playoffs, Brown actually played a bit better, averaging 8.7 points, but it didn't shift the narrative. Later, he resurfaced in the Big 3 league and even challenged the media's portrayal of his career. Sure, he didn't live up to the hype, but he stuck around longer than many. No All-Star appearances, no big accolades, just a steady, underwhelming presence that still echoes in debates about top draft busts. Bryant Reeves, drafted 6th overall by the Vancouver Grizzlies in 1995, Reeves was their very first pick and quickly became the face of the expansion team. In 6 seasons, he averaged 12.5 points and 6.9 rebounds, with his best year coming in 1998 when he posted over 16 points per game. That same year, he signed a massive contract extension worth over $61 million. But after that, the decline came fast. Chronic back pain and weight issues seriously cut into his effectiveness. By 2002, without playing a single game in Memphis, he retired. Still, he finished as the franchise leader in games played. After leaving the league, he vanished from the spotlight and returned to Oklahoma, where he now lives on a cattle ranch and coaches his sons. He even became the subject of a documentary called Finding Big Country. His story is a rare one: early promise, quick decline, and total peace afterward. Menka Batir, undrafted in 2001, he still carved out a spot with the Denver Nuggets, becoming the first Chinese player to ever start an NBA game. Across just 46 games, Batir averaged 3.4 points and 2.5 rebounds while shooting under 40%. He also spent time with the Spurs, earning a championship ring in 2003, then briefly played for the Raptors. His NBA minutes were limited and his numbers stayed modest, but once he returned to China, he dominated. In the Chinese Basketball Association, he won 3 MVP awards, a championship in 2014, and led multiple teams to the final. He also played in 3 Olympics for Team China and stood alongside Yao Ming and Wang Jiji on the global stage. His jersey was retired by the Beijing Ducks, and he even made a few film cameos. His NBA run may have been underwhelming, but his career meant a lot more back home and to international basketball history. Sam Bowie, drafted second overall in 1984, right before Michael Jordan, his name still echoes through every bad draft decision debate. But Bowie wasn't just a footnote. He came out of Kentucky with strong numbers and high expectations. In his early NBA years with Portland, he showed potential, averaging close to 12 points and over 8 rebounds per game. The problem? His legs. Stress fractures, surgeries, and constant setbacks made it impossible to stay healthy. He ended up playing 511 games over 10 seasons, with career averages of 10.9 points and 7.5 rebounds. When he got to New Jersey, he actually played well, even averaging 15 points and 10 rebounds at his peak. But injuries never fully let go. With the Lakers, his numbers dropped, and by 1995, he was done. Despite the Jordan shadow, Bowie still had solid production when healthy. And after retiring, he switched to horse racing, finding success far away from the court. Michael Olowokandi, picked first overall in 1998, his rise to the NBA started unusually. He only touched a basketball at 17. After walking on at the University of the Pacific, he turned heads with a dominant senior season, averaging over 22 points and 11 rebounds. That led the Clippers to make him their top pick. But in the NBA, he never came close to matching the hype. Across 500 games, he averaged just 8.3 points and 6.8 rebounds while shooting 43% from the field. His best season came in 2002 with the Clippers, putting up just over 11 points and nearly 9 boards. Chronic knee problems and inconsistency dragged him down, especially after joining the Timberwolves. In 15 playoff games, his numbers dropped even further. Despite his size and flashes of athleticism, his limited skill set and injuries left him labeled as a draft bust. A big man with big potential that never turned into production. Darko Milicic, taken second overall in 2003, right after LeBron James and before Carmelo Anthony, Chris Bosh, and D. Wade, Darko was expected to be a future star. Instead, he became a symbol of what could go wrong on draft night. Over 10 seasons and 6 teams, he averaged just 6 points and 4.2 rebounds per game. His best season came with Minnesota in 2011 when he put up nearly 9 points and blocked 2 shots a game, ranking 5th in the league in blocks. But that was the exception, not the rule. With Detroit, he barely played, scoring just 152 total points across 96 games. In the playoffs, his role was tiny, except for one stretch with Orlando, where he had a decent series. After retiring in 2013, he tried kickboxing, lost badly, and then pivoted to farming apples on a 125-acre orchard in Serbia. So yeah, he left the league as one of the most talked about draft busts. But at least the apples are thriving. Elliot Williams, drafted 22nd overall in 2010, his NBA career never quite gained traction, mostly thanks to a string of brutal injuries. He missed his entire rookie season with a knee injury, then played only 24 games the next year before dislocating his shoulder. Just when things looked promising, an Achilles tear knocked him out for another full season. Across 6 years and 5 teams, Williams played in 109 total games, averaging 4.9 points on 42% shooting. His best NBA stint came with Philadelphia in 2014, when he averaged 6 points per game in over 60 appearances. But outside the league, he thrived. In 2015, he led Santa Cruz to a D-League championship, won Finals MVP, and made back-to-back All-Star appearances. Overseas, he suited up for Panathinaikos and put up over 13 points per game in EuroLeague play. Despite the setbacks, Williams carved out a solid career outside the spotlight, even if the NBA chapter stayed mostly unfinished. Cherokee Parks, drafted 12th overall in 1995 after winning a national title at Duke, Parks entered the league with solid college credentials. But over 9 NBA seasons with 7 teams, he averaged just 4.4 points and 3.6 rebounds across 472 games. His most productive year came with Minnesota in 1998, when he put up just over 7 points and 5 rebounds per game. Never a consistent starter, he bounced around as a journeyman big man with decent size but underwhelming impact. He shot 47% from the field, didn't stretch the floor, and rarely posted standout numbers. After retiring in 2004, he briefly returned in 2011 to play in France's 4th-tier league. Off the court, he found a second act working with the New Orleans Pelicans, and later joined the NBA's player development department. His NBA output was quiet, but his longevity and off-court impact kept him involved in the game long after the box score stopped updating. Mark Madsen. Drafted 29th overall in 2000, Madsen played 9 seasons in the NBA, suiting up for the Lakers and Timberwolves across 453 games. He averaged just 2.2 points and 2.6 rebounds per game, but stats were never the story. Known as Mad Dog for his high-energy style, he earned 2 championship rings with the Lakers and plenty of praise from teammates for his hustle. Shaq even said he got beat up by him in practice. His most productive year, just over 3 points and 3 rebounds per game. After retiring, Madsen made a seamless move into coaching. He started in the D-League, returned to Stanford as an assistant, and later joined the Lakers staff. In 2019, he became head coach at Utah Valley, winning 2 conference titles and Coach of the Year honors. In 2023, he took over at Cal and led them to a 10-win jump in his first season. As a player, he was all grit. As a coach, he's built something much bigger. Nicolas Tskitishvili, drafted 5th overall in 2002, he came into the league with major hype after helping Benetton Treviso win the Italian league title. But in the NBA, he never found his footing. Across 172 games with 4 different teams, he averaged just 2.9 points and 1.8 rebounds, while shooting a brutal 30% from the field. His highest scoring season, just under 4 points per game. Analysts widely rank him as one of the most disappointing lottery picks ever, with his name constantly brought up in worst draft picks debates. After stints with Denver, Golden State, Minnesota, and Phoenix, he was waived twice in preseason and quietly left the league in 2006. Overseas, though, he kept going, playing in Spain, Italy, Greece, Iran, Lebanon, and Japan. At one point, he even averaged nearly 18 points and 11 rebounds with Champville in Lebanon. His NBA story ended fast, but his global career showed resilience, even if that top 5 pick label never matched the on-court results. Jimmer Fredette, drafted 10th overall in 2011. His college legacy at BYU was electric. He led the nation in scoring and became National Player of the Year. But once he hit the NBA, the magic didn't follow. Over 6 seasons and 5 teams, Jimmer averaged just 6 points per game while struggling on defense and adapting to NBA pace. Despite a few flashes, like a 24-point night with Sacramento, he never earned a lasting role. After being waived, his career found new life in China. With the Shanghai Sharks, he averaged nearly 37 points per game and even dropped 75 in a single outing. He also had stints in Greece and dominated in 3v3 basketball, representing Team USA at the Olympics and earning medals in global tournaments. In April 2025, Jimmer retired, then took over as managing director of the USA 3v3 men's team just weeks later. His NBA numbers fell short, but his global impact and second act tell a much bigger story. LaRue Martin, drafted 1st overall in 1972 by the Portland Trail Blazers, Martin was taken ahead of Bob McAdoo and Julius Erving, 2 future Hall of Famers. At Loyola Chicago, he averaged over 18 points and 15 rebounds, but his NBA career never matched the hype. In 4 seasons, he played 271 games, never started once, and averaged just 5.3 points and 4.6 rebounds. He never played more than 15 minutes a game in any season. Often cited as one of the biggest number 1 pick busts in league history, Martin's name regularly appears in comparisons to other draft disappointments, but the rest of his life flipped the script. After basketball, he earned a sociology degree, worked at Nike, and then climbed the ranks at UPS, eventually leading public affairs in Illinois. He served on nonprofit boards and remained active in the community. Martin rejected bitterness and embraced gratitude, focusing on family and building a successful career outside the game. His NBA numbers might disappoint, but his story doesn't end there. It just moved to a different kind of spot. Danny Ferry, drafted 2nd overall in 1989, Ferry refused to play for the Clippers and spent a year in Italy before joining the Cavaliers, where his NBA career never quite matched the hype. Across 13 seasons with Cleveland and San Antonio, he averaged 7 points and 2.8 rebounds per game. His best season came in 1996 when he put up 13.3 points, but that level of production didn't stick. Known more for steady outside shooting than star power, he quietly filled a bench role late in his career, winning a title with the Spurs in 2003. Despite solid shooting percentages, Ferry's name often lands on lists of underwhelming lottery picks. The trade that brought him to Cleveland, which sent Ron Harper away, still frustrates fans. After retiring, Ferry held executive roles with the Cavaliers and Hawks, and later advised the Pelicans and Spurs. On the court, expectations went unmet, but off it, he carved out a long basketball career in the front office, even if controversy shortened one of those stints. Brian Cardinal, drafted 44th overall in the 2000 NBA draft. Cardinal's pro career wasn't built on scoring headlines. It was built on grit. Nicknamed the custodian for his hustle and willingness to do the dirty work, he became the kind of player every locker room appreciated, even if fans barely noticed the box score. His best statistical year came with the Warriors in 2004, when he averaged nearly 10 points per game. Later, he became a reliable veteran with the Grizzlies and Timberwolves, and then capped his career with a championship in Dallas in 2011. Across 12 seasons, Cardinal averaged just 4.6 points and 2.3 rebounds per game, but he shot 37% from 3 and 86% from the line, proving he knew how to stay ready. He took charges, dove for loose balls, and embodied the grind. Brian Cardinal wasn't a star, but he was a pro's pro, and that effort earned him a ring and a decade-long NBA career. Keith Kloss, towering at 7 feet 3 inches. Kloss had all the physical tools you'd expect from a dominant rim protector. In college, he was a block machine, nearly 6 per game, and actually holds the highest average ever recorded in Division I. But once he hit the NBA with the Clippers, things went downhill fast. He barely saw the floor, and when he did, it was short bursts of flashes, mixed with major inconsistency. His numbers, just under 4 points and 3 rebounds a game. Not great. And while he did set a franchise record for blocks per 48 minutes, that stat only mattered if he could stay on the court, which he rarely did. Off the court, things spiraled even harder. Alcohol and drug issues derailed his focus and made his short career even shorter. He's been open about it all since, turning his life around and recently stepping into a coaching role overseas. That part's great, but if we're talking NBA performance, the hype never turned into substance. Keith Kloss had the height, the timing, and the blocks, but never the full package when it mattered. Jonathan Bender. Coming out of high school, Bender was a 7-foot guard with sky-high expectations. He broke scoring records at the McDonald's All-American game and went 5th overall in the draft. But after being traded to the Pacers, things never quite clicked. His best season, 7.4 points and 3.1 rebounds per game. Not bad, but not what you'd want from a top 5 pick. Then the injuries hit hard. Chronic knee issues wiped out most of his prime. With just 76 games played over 5 seasons, he gave it another shot with the Knicks, played 25 games, then retired for good. But here's where it gets interesting. Bender didn't just vanish. He turned his injury setbacks into something useful, creating a rehab device that's helped tons of people with knee and back pain. He also launched a foundation, helped rebuild after Hurricane Katrina, and now coaches in Houston. His playing career, disappointing. But what came after might be even more impressive. Michael Ruffin. Drafted 32nd overall in 1999, Ruffin was known more for effort than highlight reels. At Tulsa, he was a rebounding machine, but his NBA role was clear: grab boards, play defense, and stay out of the way. Across 9 seasons and 6 teams, he averaged just 1.7 points and 3.9 rebounds per game. His best year, 2.6 points and 5.8 rebounds with the Bulls. Not exactly stat sheet domination. Then there was that moment. In 2007, he tried to run out the clock by launching the ball into the air, which directly led to a game-tying 3 and an eventual Wizards loss. Brutal. After the NBA, he took his talents overseas to Spain before returning to coach in the G League and eventually the NBA. Ruffin's playing career might have been forgettable for most fans, but he carved out a long run by doing the dirty work and kept pushing into coaching when it was over. Rafael Araujo, drafted 8th overall in 2004. Araujo came into the league with big numbers from BYU and even bigger expectations, but his time in the NBA, not so impressive. Across 3 seasons with the Raptors and Jazz, he averaged just 2.8 points and 2.8 rebounds in limited minutes. His shooting dipped below 41%, and he never really carved out a role beyond being a backup center. Toronto fans still cringe, thinking about who they could have drafted instead. Off the court, Araujo blamed his lack of development on team issues and coaching decisions. Once his NBA time ended, he went overseas, where he played in Russia and back home in Brazil. And yeah, that's where he shattered a glass backboard with a dunk, which probably got more attention than anything he did in the league. Araujo had the body and college resume, but the NBA results just never matched the hype. For a top 10 pick, that's hard to overlook. Jim McIlvaine, drafted 32nd overall in 1994. McIlvaine made his name in college with a ridiculous 400 blocked shots at Marquette. That was his thing, blocking shots. And it got him into the NBA, where he averaged just 2.7 points and 3.1 rebounds over 7 seasons. But then Seattle happened. In 1996, They handed him a 7-year deal worth over $33 million. Fans didn't love it, neither did Sean Kemp, who wanted his own raise. McIlvain's best year, just under 4 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 blocks a game. Solid defense, but that contract made the expectations way bigger than his production. After 2 seasons, he was shipped to New Jersey and eventually bought out. His name still comes up in conversations about the worst contracts in league history. He wasn't terrible defensively, but when you're paid like a star and play like a backup, that reputation sticks. Semaj Christian, drafted 55th overall in 2014. Christian never got a real shot to shine in the NBA. After dominating at Xavier, where he earned all Big East honors, he had a strong showing in the G League, 18 points and nearly 6 assists per game. Still, it took 2 more years before Oklahoma City gave him a chance. In 64 games during the 2016 season, he averaged just under 3 points and 2 assists in 15 minutes per night. His shooting numbers were rough, hitting under 35% from the field and just 19% from deep. That was it for his NBA stint, but his career didn't end there. Christian went global, hooping in China, Israel, France, Spain, Turkey, and Italy. He even grabbed all EuroCup and all Italian League honors. He's a prime example of a player who never found footing in the league, but carved out a serious career overseas. The numbers? Meh. But the journey? That's something. Mohamed Sane. Taken 10th overall in 2006, Sane came into the league with a ridiculous wingspan and raw athleticism, but hardly any experience. His NBA career, just 47 games total, with averages of 2.2 points, 1.6 rebounds, and half a block per game in 5 minutes a night. For a lottery pick, that's barely a blip. Seattle and Oklahoma City gave him chances, but he spent more time in the G League than the big league. That's where he actually thrived. He was named co-defensive player of the year with 12 points, almost 9 boards, and solid block numbers. Overseas, he finally found rhythm. In France and Spain, he put up double-doubles, swatted shots, and even cracked national team rosters for Senegal. Injuries slowed him later, but he still managed a late career D-League return with Austin. Sane never delivered in the NBA, but he built a respectable pro career across the globe. Draft value? Missed. Career? Still real. In 2011, LeBron. Derrick Rose took the award with over 80% of first place votes, while LeBron barely scraped together a few. It wasn't even close. But the numbers? Yeah, they tell a different story entirely. LeBron crushed the advanced metrics. He led the entire league in box plus minus, win shares per 48 minutes, offensive win shares, and total win shares. Rose didn't touch him in any of those categories. LeBron's BPM was over 8, first in the league. Rose's was 6.8. Not bad, but not better. Win shares per 48, LeBron at .244, first again. Rose sat at 10th. The offensive win shares gap was just as wide. And LeBron wasn't just some stat sheet merchant. He averaged 26.7 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 7 assists per game on 51% shooting. He made the All-NBA first team and the All-Defense first team. He did all of that while leading a Miami team that finished 58-24. That's not some fluke record, even with Wade and Bosh on the squad. Now yeah, the Bulls had the better record at 62-20, and Rose was their clear number 1. But let's not ignore the context. The Bulls had a massive turnaround that season, and voters ate it up. Plus, the whole league still had feelings about LeBron's move to Miami. The decision wasn't exactly winning him popularity contests. The MVP race didn't come down to just stats. It never really does. It was emotion, narrative, backlash, and a little hero story sprinkled in. Even predictive models leaned toward LeBron, but the vote went the other way. When the smoke clears, you're left with this. LeBron had the best season on paper, not kind of the best, literally the best across the most important metric. And he still finished behind Rose, who, by comparison, had good numbers, but not league-leading ones. That kind of voting result just doesn't line up with the production. So when people bring up MVP snubs, this one always jumps off the list. The numbers backed LeBron all the way, but the votes backed the storyline. 1962, Wilt. He averaged 50.4 points per game. That's not a typo. It's the only time a player has ever scored over 4,000 points in a season. He also pulled down 25.7 rebounds a night. Oh, and played 48.5 minutes per game. That's more than the length of regulation. He just didn't come off the court. And of course, there's the 100-point game, which still stands alone in NBA history. But even with all of that, Wilt didn't win MVP. Bill Russell did. Russell earned 297 points in the voting. Wilt got 152. It wasn't even close. And that just makes this one of the wildest MVP outcomes in league history. Russell had a great season by normal standards. He averaged 18.9 points, 23.6 rebounds, and 4.5 assists. The Celtics finished with the league's best record at 60-20. Wilt's Warriors went 49-31. That put them third in the standing. Now team success mattered back then, just like it does now. But Wilt's individual numbers weren't just impressive, they were otherworldly. Analysts and historians look back on this season as the gold standard of personal dominance. Nobody's touched those stats since. Nobody's even sniffed them. Russell did win the title that year, but the MVP is a regular season award, and based on regular season output, this one's hard to justify. Wilt led the league in scoring, rebounding, and minutes. His team was still one of the top seeds. He didn't sneak into the playoffs or rack up empty stats on a tanking squad. He just got outvoted. And that's where the controversy still lives. You can't look at 50 points a game, 25 rebounds, a 100-point game, and over 4,000 total points, and then say that second place makes sense. Yet here we are. Wilt's season wasn't just the best of that year. It might be the best season anyone's ever had, period. But he didn't take the trophy, and that's why it's still one of the most famous MVP snubs ever. 2025 Jokic. Shea won MVP with 71 first-place votes and 913 total points. Nikola Jokic, he snagged the other 29 first-place votes and finished with 787 points. That voting gap was closer than it looks, especially since Jokic had 71 second-place votes. But once again, he walked away without the award. That made it 5 straight seasons where Jokic finished either first or second in MVP voting. Only Bill Russell and Larry Bird have done that before. But unlike most runners-up, Jokic stacked some truly wild numbers this year. He led the entire league in efficiency with a per-game EFF of 42.4. He notched 34 triple-doubles, more than anyone. And for the third time in NBA history, a player averaged a triple-double across a full season. The other two guys who did it, Oscar Robertson and Russell Westbrook. Yeah, that's the level we're talking about. Then there were the record-setting games. On April 1st, Jokic dropped 61 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. Highest scoring triple-double ever. On March 7th, he had a 30-20-20 game, the first one ever documented, throwing a bunch of 30-point triple-doubles on absurd efficiency. And it's obvious he wasn't just padding stats. He was dominating every single area. His season averages, 29.6 points, 12.7 rebounds, 10.2 assists, and over 41% from 3. That's elite production with historical impact. And while he didn't win MVP, he still made the All-NBA first team and was a finalist for Clutch Player of the Year. The respect was there from coaches and voters, even if the trophy didn't land in his lap. Shea had an amazing season too. Oklahoma City had the wins, the storyline, and the hype. But Jokic had the numbers. Everywhere. Efficiency, production, milestones, he owned them. Jokic's 61-point triple-double alone would have sealed the award in most other years, but this time, the narrative took over the vote, which makes this another brutal example of MVP voting, ignoring cold, hard fact. And yeah, that makes this season one of the clearest MVP snubs we've seen lately. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, 2006 Kobe. He averaged 35.4 points per game and dropped over 2,800 total points. That's the highest single season scoring mark since the merger. He had 27 games with at least 40 points. And then there were the 2 monster nights that changed everything. 62 in 3 quarters against Dallas. Then, less than a month later, 81 points against Toronto. No player besides Wilt has scored more in a game. Kobe's player efficiency rating was 28, second best in the league. He also finished with 15.3 win shares, which topped the MVP winner, Steve Nash, who only had 12.4. Nash's PER was 23.3, so Kobe was more efficient, more productive, and more dominant. But when the MVP results came in, Kobe finished 4th. Nash had 924 voting points. LeBron and Dirk were ahead of Kobe too. Kobe had 483 points and 22 first-place votes, which was second only to Nash. Still, he landed outside the top 3. And the reason? Team success. The Lakers went 45-37. They made the playoffs as the 7th seed and lost in the first round. Meanwhile, Nash's Suns were 54-28 and won their division. Nash had all-star level help in Shawn Marion and Boris Diaw. Kobe had Kwame Brown, Smush Parker, and Chris Meem. That roster wasn't winning anything without him. Analysts have pointed to this year over and over as a major snub. Nash had a great season, but his scoring was under 19 a night. He didn't have any massive single-game explosions. He didn't carry a broken roster into the playoff. Kobe did all that and more. It wasn't just about highlights. He backed it up with advanced stats, efficiency, and total wins above replacement. And yet, he came away empty-handed in MVP voting. This wasn't some close race between equals. The numbers leaned heavily in Kobe's favor. The only thing that pulled him back was his team's record, and that's why many still call this one of the biggest MVP snubs in NBA history. 1997, Jordan. He averaged 29.6 points, 5.9 rebounds, and 4.3 assists per game while leading the Chicago Bulls to a 69-13 record. That was the best record in the league, and just one win shy of back-to-back 70-win seasons. He also made the All-NBA First Team and the All-Defense First Team. It was a complete season. But the MVP went to Karl Malone. He put up 27.4 points, 9.9 rebounds, and 4.5 assists. His Utah Jazz finished 64-18. Great numbers, strong team, but still behind Jordan in scoring and wins. The MVP vote was tight. Malone got 63 first-place votes and 986 total points. Jordan had 52 first-place votes and finished with 957 points. That's a difference of just 29 points. That small margin has kept this one under the microscope ever since. The case against Jordan winning? Voter fatigue. He'd already won 4 MVPs. Some voters likely felt Malone deserved one. He'd been excellent for years, but never recognized with the award. So they gave it to him now. Not because he was better, but because they thought he'd waited long enough. That's where it gets frustrating. Jordan was the league's best scorer, led the best team, and was still dominating defensively. Plus, MVP tracking models actually favored him that season. He had the numbers, the impact, the accolades, and the team success. But narrative swayed the vote. Jordan even admitted that Malone winning fired him up, and that playoff run proved it. He led the Bulls through the postseason, won his 5th title, and picked up his 5th Finals MVP. The defining moment? The flu game in the finals against Malone's Jazz. That was vintage Jordan, taking things personal and responding with history. Looking back, this MVP vote is one of the most debated ever. Jordan did everything MVPs are supposed to do, but a shift in narrative and maybe boredom from voters cost him the trophy. And that's why his 1997 season still stands as one of the most contested MVP snubs in NBA history. 2008, Chris Paul. He led the league in assists with 11.6 per game and topped the NBA in steals with 2.7. He averaged 21.1 points, grabbed 4 rebounds a night, and had an absurd assist-to-turnover ratio of about 4.5 to 1. At just 22 years old, he took a Hornets squad that had won 39 games the season before and pushed them to 56 wins and a division title. That turnaround gave them the 2nd seed in the West. And Paul wasn't just racking up empty stats, he broke franchise records for assists, steals, double-doubles, and even set a playoff record for the team with 17 assists in a game against Dallas. He earned a first-team All-NBA selection and made the All-Defense 2nd team. Now the MVP went to Kobe Bryant, but the vote was incredibly close. According to ESPN's roundtable tally, Kobe had 64 points with 9 first-place votes. Paul had 60 points with 4 first-place votes. That gap, just 4 points. Kobe had the higher scoring average and led the Lakers to 57 wins, just 1 ahead of the Hornets. But he also had midseason help in Pau and a deeper roster overall. Paul's supporting cast wasn't stacked with all-stars, yet he made that team a top contender. Analytically, Paul had the edge in assist and steal production, and he completely controlled the pace of games without high turnover volume. His season impact was measured in both traditional stats and team outcomes. His contributions elevated an entire franchise in ways that many argue Kobe didn't have to. That's why this is viewed as a major MVP snub. Paul didn't lose because he wasn't dominant. He lost because Kobe had the bigger narrative and flashier moments. But the numbers favor Paul. The efficiency, the leadership, the team leap, all of it. Paul's 2008 season is still talked about as one of the best ever for a point guard. He had everything: individual dominance, elite efficiency, and team success. Yet somehow, that didn't translate to MVP votes. And that's why it's still considered one of the clearest MVP snubs in recent memory. 2001 Shaq. He averaged 28.7 points, 12.7 rebounds, and 3.7 assists over 74 games. He led the league in field goal percentage at 57% and dominated both ends of the court. He also topped the NBA in win shares and win shares per 48 minutes. Allen Iverson, the MVP winner, wasn't close in either. Iverson had a strong season too, 31.1 points per game, 2.5 steals, and a league-best story. But in terms of advanced value, Shaq was clearly ahead. He totaled 14.9 win shares. Iverson had 11.8. Iverson's efficiency rating lagged as well. His win shares per 48 minutes sat at .19. Shaq's was far higher. When MVP votes came in, Iverson got 93 first-place votes and over 1,100 total points. Shaq, just 7 first-place votes and 578 points. He didn't even finish second. Tim Duncan did, with 706 points and 18 first-place votes. That drop-off shocked many, including Shaq's own coach, Phil Jackson, who called it a slap in the face. The Lakers finished with a 56-26 record, same as the Sixers. But Iverson's underdog narrative and cultural pull carried him in the eyes of voters. Meanwhile, Shaq quietly put up some of the most dominant big man numbers of the era while sharing the court with Kobe Bryant. That likely hurt his chances, even if it shouldn't have. And then the playoffs started. Shaq averaged 33 points, nearly 16 rebounds, and close to 5 assists per game during the final. The Lakers went 15-1 through the postseason. That record was the best in league history at the time. Shaq won Finals MVP and erased any doubt about who the most dominant player was. This MVP race wasn't close because Iverson played better. It was close because voters got swept up in storyline. But if you just look at the numbers, efficiency, and impact, it's one of the clearest MVP snubs in modern NBA history. Shaq had the season, he just didn't get the award. 2017 Harden, he led the league in assists with 11.2 per game and became the first player in NBA history to finish a season with over 2,000 points, 900 assists, and 600 rebounds. That's never been done before or since. He recorded 22 triple-doubles, 63 double-doubles, and orchestrated one of the most efficient offenses in the league under Mike D'Antoni's new system. On December 31st, Harden put up 53 points, 16 rebounds, and 17 assists in one game. That became the first 50-15-15 line ever recorded. He tied Wilt Chamberlain for the most points in a triple-double. And yet, despite the resume, the MVP didn't go to Harden. Russell Westbrook won the award with 888 points and 42 triple-doubles. Harden finished second with 753. That gap of 135 points was slim by MVP standards, especially considering the depth of Harden's statistical achievements. Harden was more efficient, led the league in assists, and carried Houston to 55 wins, 9 more than Westbrook's Thunder. His offensive control was near flawless, and he finished the season on the All-NBA first team. The Rockets' entire system revolved around Harden's ability to create, finish, and facilitate, with a remarkably low turnover rate for the load he carried. Westbrook's triple-double average made history and drove the narrative. But outside of box scores, Harden had a cleaner impact across advanced metrics and helped his team outperform expectations. He didn't rely on inflated usage or rebounds boxed out by teammates. He ran one of the most explosive offenses in the league and made it look methodical. The voting reflected the story, not the numbers. Westbrook had the highlight reels, but Harden had the substance. He built one of the most complete offensive seasons in recent memory and still got left behind in the final count. That season marked the closest Harden came to winning MVP without actually getting it. It's been debated ever since, because when you isolate the production, consistency, and impact, it's impossible not to call it what it was, a major MVP snub. 1973 Kareem. He averaged around 26 points, 14 rebounds, and over 4 assists per game, adjusted to today's pace. His player efficiency rating was 28.5, highest in the league. He finished with 21.9 win shares, dominating just about every advanced metric that matters. And yet, the MVP went to Dave Cowan. Cowans put up about 20.5 points, 16.2 rebounds, and 4.1 assists. His Celtics won 68 games, the best record in the league. But statistically, he wasn't close to Kareem. He had only 12 win shares. He didn't lead in efficiency, he didn't carry the same load offensively, and he wasn't named to the All-NBA first team. Kareem was. The Bucks went 60-22, tied with the Lakers for the best in the West. That's just 8 wins behind the Celtics. And yet the MVP vote wasn't just about record. Kareem had already won back-to-back MVPs in 1971 and 1972. Voters wanted something new. Cowans had the narrative, the team success, and the fresh face. Kareem finished second in the vote with 339 points and 33 first-place votes. Cowans won with more overall points, even though his statistical case didn't hold up. The only major thing he had was team wins. This wasn't some off year for Kareem either. He was still in his prime, still controlling games on both ends of the court, and still leading his team to elite records. His P, ER, and win shares were the highest in the league. That's the exact profile of an MVP. Only he didn't win. Looking back, this vote is one of the clearest examples where narrative took the wheel. Cowan's was great, Kareem was greater, but voters leaned toward variety and rewarded team record over individual dominance. Kareem's 1973 season had all the markers of MVP value: elite production, advanced stats, team success, and recognition. The numbers don't lie. He was the best player that year. The award just didn't reflect it. That's why this is still one of the most glaring MVP snubs ever. 1969, Willis Reed. He averaged 21.1 points and 14.5 rebounds per game while shooting over 52% from the field and 4% from the free throw line. That season, he pulled down 1,191 total rebounds, setting a franchise record for the Knicks. He was the defensive anchor for the league's stingiest team, holding opponents to just over 105 points per game. Reed's advanced numbers backed it all up. He finished with an estimated 14.7 win shares, 9.5 on offense, 5.1 on defense. Wes Unseld, the actual MVP, totaled 10.8 win shares, including only 3.8 on offense. Unseld had more rebounds, sure, 18.2 per game, but scored just 13.8 points a night and was far less efficient. Reed outscored him by nearly 8 points per game and shot better from everywhere. Despite that, the MVP went to Unseld, a rookie. He got the vote on narrative. The story of a first-year player leading the Bullets to the best regular season record in the East was impossible for voters to resist. But statistically, Reed had the better season. The more complete season, the more impactful season. He made the All-NBA team. He led the best defensive unit in the league, and he carried his team to a strong record in the West, matching the Lakers with 60 wins. Yet the MVP voters overlooked the numbers in favor of the headline. Reed's season wasn't forgotten though. He was named Press Player of the Year by journalists in both 1969 and 1970. So while the official trophy went to Unseld, Reed's dominance was clear to those who looked beyond the surface. This wasn't just about flash or potential, it was about actual performance, advanced stats, team defense, scoring impact, and efficiency all leaned toward Reed, but the vote went the other way. That's why his 1969 campaign stands as one of the earliest and clearest MVP snubs in league history. The numbers were there, the impact was there, the recognition just wasn't. 1978, Iceman. He led the entire league in scoring with 27.2 points per game and secured the scoring title by less than 1/10 of a point over David Thompson. He played nearly the full season, pushed the Spurs to 52 wins, and won the Central Division. He also posted around 12 win shares and ranked 4th in player efficiency rating across the league. But the MVP didn't go to him. It went to Bill Walton. Walton finished with 96 votes. Jervin followed close behind with 80.5. Yet Walton only played 58 games that year, missing nearly a third of the season. The Iceman played through the grind, maintained elite production all year, and carried his team into the playoffs with consistent volume and efficiency. Walton's impact in the games he played was massive. Portland went 50-10 when he was on the floor, but he wasn't on the floor enough. His win shares, just 8.4. The Iceman topped him by nearly 4 full wins added. He also had a higher PER and better total production across the season. That's where the debate kicks in. Walton brought dominant presence when healthy, but the Iceman delivered elite offense every night for the full season. He wasn't just scoring, he was efficient and durable. His playoff performance was also huge. He averaged over 33 points per game. Though the Spurs lost in the first round, the voters leaned into the Walton story. They saw the impact in short bursts and gave it weight over a complete resume. That's where the snub comes in. The Iceman had more scoring, more availability, and more statistical value. Walton's case was built on dominance and limited action. That MVP race came down to one question: peak or longevity? The voters chose peak, but in hindsight, Jervin's full season of elite production makes the more sustainable case. The Iceman's 1978 campaign had everything an MVP season should include: scoring title, full season health, advanced efficiency, and team success. The fact he came up short in votes? That's why this remains one of the strongest MVP snubs in league history. 1990 Barkley. He averaged 25.2 points, 11.5 rebounds, and just under 4 assists while shooting a blistering 60% from the field. He played 79 games and logged nearly 40 minutes per night. He was named to the All-NBA first team and clearly had one of the most efficient high-usage seasons in league history. But he didn't win MVP. That went to Magic Johnson. Barkley actually had more first-place votes, 38 to Magic's 27, but he lost on total points. Magic finished with 634. Barkley came in second with 614, a gap of just 20. It's the only time in league history a player won the most first-place votes and didn't get the trophy. The Sixers won 53 games. The Lakers won 63. That win gap mattered, especially to voters who put more weight on team records. Magic's 11.5 assists per game stood out, even though Barkley outscored and out-rebounded him while shooting nearly 12 percentage points better from the field. This wasn't a case of underachievement. Barkley was dominant, efficient, and relentless. He scored at volume without sacrificing shot selection, and he anchored a team that lacked another star. Magic had James Worthy, Byron Scott, in a system that ran through him. Barkley didn't have that kind of help. Voters leaned toward the winning narrative. They prioritized record and playmaking. But by the numbers, scoring, rebounding, efficiency, and first-place votes, Barkley made the stronger case. His field goal percentage alone, at 60%, was nearly unheard of for a player who wasn't just dunking under the basket. Barkley later said he never let it go. And honestly, who would? He made history in all the wrong ways. Most first-place votes, no MVP. That sting lasted. His 1990 season remains one of the most controversial MVP races ever. It wasn't just about stats, it was about how voters valued the game, and Barkley came up short in a race he arguably won. That's why this one still stands out as one of the most painful MVP snubs in league history. 1970, Jerry West. He put together another season of elite production, leading the Lakers in scoring, playmaking, and perimeter defense, and once again, anchoring one of the league's top rosters. Though exact per-game stats from that year aren't widely cited, West's status as the league's premier guard remained unquestioned. He was in his prime, consistent as ever, and the centerpiece of one of the NBA's flagship franchises. And yet, the MVP went to Willis Reed. Reed had a strong regular season and led the Knicks to the league's best record. But what tipped the scale wasn't just his stats. It was the emotional pull of that finals run, especially his return in Game 7, which became one of the most iconic moments in NBA history. The problem? That finals moment came after the MVP vote. The regular season MVP shouldn't include postseason narratives, but Reed's heroic image had already started to shape the story before voting wrapped. Meanwhile, West's brilliance was steady, reliable, and maybe too familiar to capture headlines. Reports suggest West finished second in voting, ahead of Kareem. It wouldn't be his last time finishing as runner-up. He would go his entire career without an MVP. Despite being a perennial top 3 player, his resume was full. But voters often lean toward dramatic narratives over quiet dominance. The Lakers didn't win the title that year, and that mattered. The Knicks did. Reed's visibility, team success, and the looming legend of his finals grit made his season feel larger than life. West, he had another season of elite basketball, but without the moment that captured the league's collective imagination. That's why this MVP race is remembered more for what wasn't awarded than for what was. West had the numbers, he had the impact, he had the respect, but he didn't have the vote. Reed's story won out. West's 1970 campaign sits alongside the rest of his Hall of Fame career as another example of how consistent greatness can be overshadowed by a single iconic narrative. That's why this is still remembered as one of the league's clearest MVP snubs. 2023, Jokic. Jokic's name not being called as MVP that year had some folks blinking in slow motion. He showed up all season long, putting up efficiency numbers that made the league's advanced metrics look like they were built just for him. He had a net plus-minus of plus 23.2 per 100 possessions. That wasn't just the best in the league. It completely dwarfed his own numbers from his past 2 MVP runs. Embiid hovered around plus 11.3, and Giannis sat near plus 6.8. That gap alone should have raised more than a few eyebrows. And here's where things went off the rail. The final vote count had Jokic with 15 first place votes, 52 second place, and 32 third place. But he only appeared on 99 of the 100 ballots, meaning someone just didn't include him at all. That missing vote wasn't a ghost. It belonged to ESPN's Mark Jackson, who somehow chose to list 5 other names instead. He later said it was a mistake and apologized. But by then, the damage was done, leaving out a reigning back-to-back MVP who was once again statistically dominating. That's not a small oversight. That's a full-on misstep in a season where every vote counted. His final voting score was 99, just one shy of perfection. And that single error lit a fire under fans and analysts who saw it as a total breakdown in voting integrity. It wasn't just fans that reacted. Analysts across media outlets pushed back hard. The consensus was simple. Even if someone didn't want to give him the MVP, leaving him off completely made no basketball sense. And Jokic, he just kept hooping while the storm brewed. That season now stands as a case study in how voter decisions can alter the course of league history, whether intentional or not. When you've got the league leader in impact metrics being left off a single ballot in a race that tight, it's hard not to call it what it is. That was a snub, plain and clear. 1978, Kareem. That season, Kareem put up numbers that didn't just speak, they shouted. He averaged over 25 points, grabbed almost 13 rebounds, and added 4 assists per game. His win shares were a massive 12.1, topping the league. And somehow, he didn't win MVP. Bill Walton got the award instead, and it wasn't close enough for comfort. Now look, Walton had a solid year. 18.9 points, 13.2 boards, 5 assists. He helped Portland get off to a strong start and was praised for how he lifted that squad. But his win shares, just 8.4, and he only played in 58 games. Kareem played in 62. Neither guy played the whole season, but Kareem still had the statistical edge everywhere it mattered. Despite that, Kareem didn't get the nod. The voters were clearly swayed by narrative. Walton's team had more momentum, more media hype, and more highlight-friendly performances early in the season. Kareem, he just dominated quietly, like he always did, and somehow that got overlooked again. Even though Kareem didn't win MVP, he still made the All-NBA second team. Walton didn't receive individual awards on those fronts. That adds another layer of confusion to the whole thing. Kareem's total package, scoring, rebounding, efficiency, and defense, was unmatched that year. But because the Lakers weren't lighting it up in the standings, his impact got buried under all the noise surrounding Portland. The big takeaway here is simple. Kareem delivered a more complete season. He was more durable, more productive, and more consistent. But the voters rewarded Walton's flash over Kareem's substance. It wasn't just about stats. It was about storyline, and that's what made the whole thing feel off. This wasn't just a close race. It was a moment when consistency and greatness lost to excitement and narrative. From a pure numbers standpoint, this snub still sticks out all these years later. It's one of those cases where the award went to the storyline, not the stat sheet. 1964, Wilt. That season, Chamberlain put together another monster campaign that somehow didn't end with him holding the MVP trophy. He led the league in scoring by a landslide with 36.9 points per game. He also pulled down 22.3 rebounds a night, which was good for second in the league. And if that wasn't enough, he averaged over 46 minutes per game. That's basically never coming off the floor. Oscar Robertson ended up taking home the MVP instead. He averaged 31.4 points, nearly 10 rebounds, and dished out 11 assists per game. His all-around production and assist title impressed the voters, and the triple-double narrative gave him an extra push. But that doesn't erase how dominant Wilt was in nearly every box score category. Wilt's team didn't have the best record, and that likely played into the final vote. Still, being the scoring leader, nearly the top rebounder, and logging an insane amount of minutes made him the most imposing force on the court. He earned All-NBA first-team honors, but somehow that wasn't enough for MVP voters. Back in those days, advanced stats weren't even part of the conversation. No win shares, no player efficiency ratings, just raw production. And by those standards, Wilt's season was off the charts. He did everything but hand out popcorn during timeouts. His scoring alone was so far ahead of the field, it felt like a cheat code. Robertson's triple-double numbers were historic, no doubt, but Chamberlain was setting statistical standards that remain almost untouchable. Losing the MVP race after putting up nearly 37 and 22 still feels strange, especially when he played more minutes and took on more responsibility. This snub wasn't just about numbers. It reflected a preference for a more well-rounded skill set over outright dominance. And that choice kept Wilt from taking home what many believe should have been another MVP. When the league's most dominant player doesn't get recognized during one of his peak years, that stands out. 1964. Wilt remains one of the biggest. How did he not win seasons in league history? Nikola Jokic. Jokic's historic comparison is Wilt Chamberlain. Both played center, dominated in completely different ways, and redefined the position for their own eras. Wilt was taller, but Jokic is heavier and plays in a totally different system. Jokic's game is built around versatility and control, while Chamberlain leaned on size, strength, and endless stamina. Wilt once averaged over 48 minutes a game in a season. Jokic doesn't do that, but he's regularly dropping stat lines that didn't even seem possible back then. Chamberlain owns the rebounding records. Jokic owns the passing numbers. Jokic has 3 MVPs, 1 championship, and an all-around style that's never been seen at his size. Chamberlain has 4 MVPs, 2 championships, and once scored 100 points in a single game. Jokic recently averaged over 29 points, 12 rebounds, and 10 assists per game across a season. Wilt's career averages are around 30 points and 22 rebounds, with assists near 4. Jokic's career assist average is about 7, which is nuts for a center. They both changed how people think about big men. Chamberlain made defense adjust the rules. Jokic makes teams rethink who should run the offense. They both shattered expectations. They just did it in totally different basketball worlds. Giannis's historic comparison is Shaq. Both thrived by punishing defenders in the paint, but how they did it was totally different. Shaq used brute force, planted himself on the block, and dared opponents to stop him. Giannis does it with a bit more finesse and a lot more movement. He attacks from the perimeter, in transition, or off cuts, and adds playmaking that Shaq didn't really bring. Their size and dominance inside are where the similarities start. Shaq stood around 7'1" and weighed over 300 pounds. Giannis is about 6'11" and 243 pounds. One was a classic center, the other a hybrid forward who plays like a freight train. Giannis averages more assists per game, plays more defense on the perimeter, and racks up all defensive honor. Shaq has 4 championships and 3 finals MVPs. Giannis has 1 championship and 1 finals MVP. But in terms of dominating stretches, they've both had some serious runs. Giannis had 9 30-point, 10-rebound playoff games in one run, the most since Shaq had 13 in the year 2000. They both shoot extremely well inside, and both rarely rely on the three-pointer. Giannis just adds modern movement and passing to the old-school dominance Shaq made legendary. Luka's historic comparison is a hybrid of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. All three are oversized playmakers, but Luka mixes Bird's scoring and rebounding with Magic's passing and ball control. Bird was 6'9", Magic the same, and Luka stands 6'8". Bird and Magic had clearly defined roles back then. Luka blends both. His scoring average sits near 28 points per game, higher than both Bird and Magic. His assist numbers land near 8 per game, not quite Magic level, but well ahead of Bird. In rebounding, he's right in the mix with both. Magic averaged more assists, Bird averaged more rebounds. Luka lands in between, but adds more scoring. All three contributed in 3 categories consistently: points, rebounds, assists. Luka's also piled up triple-doubles faster than most players in league history. Bird and Magic collected MVPs and championships. Luka's still climbing that ladder, but when you watch him run the offense, grab boards, and lead the team in scoring, it's easy to see why the comparison works. He doesn't just score or pass, he does both, while rebounding like a forward. That versatility is rare. Luka isn't exactly Bird or Magic, but the blend of their impact is written all over his game, night after night. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Victor Wembanyama. Wembanyama's historic comparison is Hakeem. They're both dominant bigs, drafted first overall and expected to anchor a franchise. Hakeem was a 7-footer, listed at 255 pounds. Wembanyama stands around 7'3" and weighs about 235 pounds. Hakeem's career averages were 21.8 points, 11.1 rebounds, and 3.1 blocks per game. Wembanyama, after 2 full seasons, is averaging around 22.5 points, 10.8 rebounds, and 3.7 blocks per game. That's already near or above Hakeem's numbers, though of course Wembanyama's just getting started. Hakeem had 18 seasons, 2 championships, 1 Most Valuable Player award, and 2 finals. Most Valuable Player awards. Wembanyama's top accolade so far is the Rookie of the Year award in 2024. Hakeem was a master of the post, with elite footwork and rim protection. Wembanyama adds something new: perimeter shooting, mobility, and playmaking that Hakeem's era rarely asked of centers. Both dominate defensively. Both rebound at elite levels, but Wembanyama's offensive game already stretches beyond the paint. That's the key contrast. Hakeem redefined what a center could do in the post. Wembanyama's redefining what a center even is. Their tools are different, but their roles as franchise-defining bigs, that part's the same. Shea's historic comparison is Kobe Bryant. They're both 6'6" guards with elite scoring talent, but the way they go about it is shaped by era and role. Kobe was a shooting guard with a scoring-first mentality. Shea is more of a combo guard, directing the offense, while still being a top scorer. Shea's efficiency is off the charts right now. In the 2025 season, he averaged 32.7 points per game on over 51% shooting. That season, he also won the Most Valuable Player award, Finals Most Valuable Player award, and led the league in scoring. Only 3 other players in league history have done that. Kobe had a longer resume, obviously. 5 championships, 2 finals. Most Valuable Player awards, 1 league, Most Valuable Player award, 15 All-NBA selection. But Shea's peak already mirrors some of Kobe's best years. Both have dropped multiple 50-point games, taken over playoff series, and been the offensive heart of their team. Kobe's career scoring average is just over 25 points, with fewer assists. Shea's, sitting at around 24 points per game across his first 471 games, with higher assist numbers. Kobe had elite footwork, a lethal mid-range game, and unmatched drive. Shea brings slashing, control, and smooth isolation scoring. They're not the same, but the parallels are real. LeBron James. James's historic comparison is Michael Jordan. This one was obvious. The 2 greatest players ever. Jordan played as a 6'6" shooting guard and weighed around 215 pounds. James is about 6'9" and over 250 pounds, playing mostly forward while handling the ball like a guard. Jordan's focus was elite scoring and defense, while James brings a mix of scoring, playmaking, and rebounding. Jordan's career average is 30.1 points per game, with 6.2 rebounds and 5.3 assists. James averages around 27 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 7.4 assists per game. Jordan finished with 32,292 total points in 1,072 games. James has over 42,000 total points through more than 1,560 games. Jordan had 6 championships with 6 finals, Most Valuable Player awards, and 5 Most Valuable Player awards. James has 4 championships, 4 finals Most Valuable Player awards, and 4 Most Valuable Player awards. Jordan's playoff scoring average is higher, but James has more rebounds and assists. Jordan went 6-0 in the finals. James has more finals appearances, but more losses. Jordan had the better free throw percentage. James has the edge in field goal percentage. Both dominated their eras, one with scoring perfection, the other with all-around longevity. Anthony Edwards. Edwards' historic comparison is D. Wade. Both are 6'4" shooting guards with explosive scoring ability and strong athletic frame. Wade was listed at 220 pounds during his playing career. Edwards comes in slightly heavier at around 225 pounds. Wade played 16 seasons and averaged 22 points, 4.7 rebounds, and 5.4 assists per game. Edwards, through about 384 games, is averaging roughly 23.9 points, 5.3 rebounds, and 4.2 assists per game. Their scoring numbers are close, though Wade had more assists, while Edwards is pulling more rebounds early in his career. Wade won 3 championships, was named Finals Most Valuable Player once, and made 13 All-Star teams. Edwards' career is still developing, but he's already recorded a 53-point game with 10 three-pointers, something Wade never did. Wade was known for attacking the rim, elite slashing, and clutch playoff moments. Edwards shows more perimeter shooting, but is also effective driving inside. They both play with confidence, physicality, and have taken on lead roles for their teams. Wade was a proven champion. Edwards is still writing his story, but the early signs point to a player with a statistical profile and playing style worthy of the comparison. Anthony Davis. Davis's historic comparison is Kevin Garnett. Both are dominant front court players, listed around 6'10" to 6'11", who've anchored defense and impacted the game with rebounding, shot blocking, and scoring. Garnett averaged about 17.8 points, 10 rebounds, and 3.7 assists over a 21-year career. Davis so far is averaging about 24.1 points, 10.7 rebounds, and 2.6 assists. He also blocks over 2 shots a game. Garnett won 1 championship and was the league's most valuable player in 2004. Davis also won 1 championship with the Lakers in 2020. Garnett earned Defensive Player of the Year honors in 2008 and made the All-Defensive First Team 9 times. Davis has not won Defensive Player of the Year, but has regularly been among the league's top shot blockers and has multiple all-defensive selections. Garnett rarely shot from 3. Davis doesn't rely on it either, but he does space the floor more in a modern system. Garnett's game leaned on intensity, rebounding, and defense. Davis adds modern versatility, switching, pick and pop, more face-up offense. They're not identical, but Davis's role as a mobile, elite defender and scoring big makes the comparison a strong one across eras. Donovan Mitchell. Mitchell's historic comparison is pre-injury Gilbert Arenas. Both are high-scoring guards, listed at 6'3", who can take over a game with shot creation and big-time scoring. Arenas averaged about 20.7 points, 3.9 rebounds, and 5.3 assists across his career, though his peak in the mid-2000s was much higher. In the 2004 to 2007 stretch, he averaged over 25 points per game and once dropped 60 against the Lakers. Mitchell has averaged about 24.7 points, 4.3 rebounds, and 4.7 assists so far. Arenas relied on pull-ups, drives, and volume scoring. Mitchell plays in a more spaced era, takes more threes, and adds more rebounding. Arenas averaged more assists, while Mitchell's stat lines are more balanced. Both could drop 40 on any given night. Mitchell just does it with more efficiency from deep and in an era with faster pace. They're not the same, but the way Mitchell scores and leads aligns closely with how Arenas dominated before injury shortened his prime. Jalen Brunson. Brunson's historic comparison is Allen Iverson. Iverson was listed at 6 feet tall and weighed around 165 pounds. Brunson is listed at 6'2" and about 190 pounds. Both played guard, scored off the dribble, and operated as primary offensive options. Iverson's career average was 26.7 points, 6.2 assists, and 3.7 rebounds per game, with 2.2 steals. Brunson's current career numbers sit at around 18.3 points, 5 assists, and 3.2 rebounds per game. In the 2025 season, Brunson averaged 26 points and 7.3 assists on 48.8% shooting. Iverson won 1 Most Valuable Player award, made 11 All-Star teams, won 4 scoring titles, and averaged nearly 30 points per game in the playoffs. Brunson recently won Clutch Player of the Year and was named an All-Star. Both guards create for themselves, handle the ball, and deliver in big moments. Iverson played in a lower efficiency, higher usage era, while Brunson plays a more efficient, modern game with better spacing and more three-point shooting. Iverson's legacy is set. Brunson's is still growing, but their roles, lead guard, offensive engine, and clutch performer, make the comparison make sense in pure function, if not scale. Cade Cunningham. Cunningham's historical comparison is a pre-injury Penny Hardaway. Both are tall guards. Penny listed at 6'7", Cade at 6'6", who play as primary ball handlers with the size and vision to create for others. Penny averaged over 20 points and 7 assists per game at his peak in the mid-90s before injury. Cade is currently averaging over 22 points, 5.5 rebounds, and more than 7 assists per game, including over 26 points and 9 assists in the 2024 to 2025 season. Both players rebound well for their position and serve as the offensive engines for their teams. Penny's early success included 4 straight All-Star appearances and an NBA Finals run with Orlando. Cade has yet to reach the postseason consistently, but he's producing at a higher statistical rate than Penny's peak in both scoring and assists. Penny played in a slower, less three-point heavy era. Cade plays in a modern system with more spacing and more responsibility in creation. Injuries cut Penny's peak short. Cade has not had that derailment, and his trajectory is trending upward. The comparison holds because both are versatile, oversized guards who run the offense, create for teammates, and score efficiently. Cade doing so in a modern, evolving context. Devin Booker. Booker's historical comparison is Jerry West. West was listed at 6 feet 3 inches and 175 pounds, while Booker is 6 feet 5 inches and about 206 pounds. Both play guard, with West operating as a scoring and playmaking combo guard for the Lakers in the 1960s and 70s, and Booker serving as the lead offensive option for the Phoenix Suns in the modern NBA. West averaged 27 points, 6.7 assists, and 5.8 rebounds per game for his career. Booker's career averages sit around 24.5 points, 5.3 assists, and 4 rebounds. West made 14 All-Star teams, 12 All-NBA teams, 5 All-Defensive teams, and won an NBA championship in 1972. Booker is a 4-time All-Star so far, a 2-time All-NBA selection, and became the Suns' all-time leading scorer in 2025. West averaged over 30 points per game in 4 different seasons and won the Finals' Most Valuable Player award in a losing effort. Booker scored 70 points in a single game at age 20, the youngest player in league history to do so. The comparison works because both are premier scoring guards who anchor their teams offensively. West played in a mid-range, slower-paced era with different statistical expectations. Booker plays in a high-tempo, three-point-oriented league. While Booker has not yet matched West's full legacy or accolades, their roles, high-volume scoring guards with playmaking duties and clutch reputations, a line across eras. Paolo Banchero. Paolo's historic comparison is Carmelo Anthony. Carmelo entered the league in the early 2000s and played 19 seasons. Paolo's just wrapped up his third. Carmelo came in at 6'7" and 238 pounds, while Paolo stands taller and heavier at 6'10" and 250 pounds. That size gap alone sets them apart physically, especially when Paolo plays more like a forward guard hybrid. Carmelo was all about scoring, a pure bucket getter from the mid-range and beyond. Paolo scores, sure, but he's also rebounding and dishing out assists at a higher rate early in his career. Carmelo averaged 22.5 points, 6.2 rebounds, and 2.7 assists across over 1,200 games. Paolo's career averages so far, 22.4 points, 7.1 boards, and 4.6 assists. And in this current season, he's jumped to nearly 26 points per game. That's not just volume, that's production with balance. Carmelo made 10 All-Star teams and 6 All-NBA squads. Paolo's still building, but it's clear he's on a track that includes more than just scoring. This comparison works because both are forwards who dominate offensively, but Paolo brings a different wrinkle, one that reflects how the position's changing in today's league. Jason Tatum. Tatum's historic comparison is Tracy McGrady. They're both 6'8", 210 pounds, and built like wings, who could give any defense a headache. McGrady played mostly as a scoring guard forward, while Tatum's more of a forward who can still create for others. McGrady had that raw, unstoppable scoring feel, but Tatum's game stretches wider. He rebounds more and gets more assists, especially in recent seasons. Before the Achilles injury in 2025, Tatum was putting up over 26 points, nearly 9 rebounds, and 6 assists per game. That's not just consistency, that's doing everything. McGrady, at his peak, averaged over 31 points in a season, but his career average dropped due to injury years. He ended with 19.6 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, and 4.4 assists. Tatum already has a ring. McGrady, despite all that talent, never got one. Prime McGrady was a scoring machine, but Tatum's numbers show more balance and modern versatility. Tatum's playoff elimination game averages over 26 points, nearly 9 rebounds, and 6 assists. Tell you he steps up when it counts. Comparing them makes sense, but the era shift, playmaking edge, and Tatum's title push the contrast forward. Still, both could flat out take over games. Tyrese Halliburton. Halliburton's historic comparison is Steve Nash. Both ran the point, both dished out assists like they were handing out candy, and both had control of the offense without needing to dominate scoring. Nash played 18 seasons, averaged around 14 points and 8.5 assists, and shot lights out, over 42% from 3 and over 90% from the line. Halliburton, through 5 seasons, already averages more in points and assists, sitting near 18 points and nearly 9 assists. His shooting splits trail Nash's all-time marks, but they're still strong, especially in today's pace-heavy game. Halliburton's taller, standing 6'5" to Nash's 6'3", which gives him some edge in length and defensive potential. Nash led the league in assists 5 times and won 2 Most Valuable Player awards. Halliburton hasn't hit those accolades yet, but the assist numbers suggest he's walking that same path. In the 2024 to 2025 season, Halliburton averaged over 9 assists again. That kind of distribution at his size is rare. Nash changed the way point guards played in the 2000s. Halliburton's doing his thing in a league that now expects scoring and playmaking from the same guy. Comparing them shows just how far the roles evolve, without losing its core. Pascal. Pascal's historic comparison is James Worthy. Both played forward, both had size and mobility, and both contributed to championship teams. Worthy came in at 6'9" and 225 pounds. Pascal's just an inch shorter, but 20 pounds heavier. Worthy averaged about 17 points, 5 boards, and 3 assists per game across 926 games. Pascal's regular season numbers, roughly 18 points, 7 rebounds, and nearly 4 assists, come in just above that across his career so far. Worthy made 7 All-Star teams and won 3 rings. Pascal has 1 title, 3 All-Star selections, and 2 All-NBA nods. In playoff numbers, Worthy actually scored more, averaging 21 points per game in the postseason. Pascal holds steady in both regular and playoff games, averaging 18 points in each. Pascal's playmaking numbers are higher. He's posted over 5 assists in his best season, showing more creation. Worthy's role focused on finishing, especially in transition for the Showtime Lakers. Pascal's game covers more ground, shooting, switching, creating, because today's game demands it. Comparing them shows how the forward spot evolved. Pascal's role is wider, but the versatility, two-way value, and ability to step up in big games is something both players clearly share. Bam's historic comparison is Joakim Noah. Both played center, both anchored the defense, and both impacted the game without needing to score 30 every night. Noah stood 6'11" and weighed around 232 pounds. Bam's a bit shorter, but heavier, at 6'9" and 255 pounds. Noah's career regular season averages were about 9 points, 9 rebounds, and nearly 3 assists per game. Bam's averages so far are roughly 16 points, 9 rebounds, and nearly 4 assists. Bam clearly scores more and facilitates more. Noah earned 2 All-Star nods, a Defensive Player of the Year award, and made multiple All-Defensive teams. Bam's been an All-Star more than once and earned similar All-Defensive recognition. The big difference? Bam's offensive role is bigger. More touches, more creation, more scoring responsibility. Noah was a defensive leader with high energy and strong passing out of the post, but Bam adds modern versatility, switching on guards, handling the ball, even running some offense. Still, the comparison works because both are defensive anchors, strong rebounders, and passers from the front court. Bam's doing it in a different era, but their impacts as non-traditional scoring bigs with all-around utility draw a clear, fact-based connection between the two. Chet Holmgren. Holmgren's historic comparison is Ralph Sampson. Chet's listed at 7'1" and 208 pounds, while Ralph stood 7'4" and weighed 228. Both played center and power forward. Both had length and mobility, and both arrived with massive expectation. Ralph averaged over 21 points and 11 rebounds in his rookie season. Chet, in his first 118 games, averaged around 16 points, 8 rebounds, and over 2 blocks, while shooting nearly 37% from 3. Ralph rarely shot from distance. Career three-point percentage was below 18%, because that wasn't part of the game then. Chet plays in an era where bigs shoot, switch, and initiate offense. Ralph's career average was 15.4 points and 8.8 rebounds per game. Chet is right there statistically, just in a very different context. Ralph won Rookie of the Year and made 4 All-Star teams. Chet's already helped lead the Thunder to a championship and was drafted second overall, just like Ralph was drafted first. The comparison makes sense because of how rare it is to see that size with skill. Chet's game stretches wider, but both redefined what bigs could do in their eras. It's a valid parallel with very different long-term paths. De'Aaron Fox. Fox's historic comparison is Kevin Johnson. Johnson stood 6'1" and averaged about 17.9 points, 3.3 rebounds, and 9.1 assists over 12 seasons. Fox is taller at 6'3" and so far averages over 21 points, nearly 4 rebounds, and just over 6 assists. Johnson was a high-level passer and ran the offense as a true floor general. Fox plays in an era where point guards are expected to score more, and his numbers reflect that shift. Fox shoots around 47% from the field. Johnson shot a very efficient 49.3% across his career. Johnson was a 3-time All-Star with 5 All-NBA selections, while Fox, though still active, hasn't matched that accolade count yet. Fox's rebounding numbers are slightly higher, and his scoring average is notably above Johnson's career mark. The key contrast comes in playmaking. Johnson dished out more assists and played in a system that leaned heavier on set offense. Fox thrives more in transition and modern pick-and-roll spacing. Both were top 10 picks, expected to lead their franchises. Comparing them highlights how the point guard role shifted from Johnson's pass-first style to Fox's scoring plus facilitation blend. It's a valid match rooted in position, usage, and team leadership. Jaren Jackson Jr. Jackson's historic comparison is a better scoring Serge Ibaka. Jaren is 6'10" and about 242 pounds, while Serge stood 6'11" and 235. Both played forward center roles with rim protection, shot blocking, and floor spacing. But Jaren's scoring stands out. His career average is about 18.5 points per game, and in the 2024 to 2025 season, he put up 22.2 points on nearly 37.5% shooting from 3. Serge averaged 12 points for his career, with the peak season around 15. Jaren clearly carries a heavier offensive load. Serge's field goal percentage was higher at around 51%, but that came on fewer shots and mostly inside looks. Jaren's scoring includes threes, post-ups, drives, and pick and pop options, Serge did grow into a solid shooter, hitting almost 36% from deep, but he never had Jaren's volume or usage. Jackson's role on offense includes more creation and versatility, while Serge played as a complementary scorer. The comparison works because both block shots and space the floor, but Jaren scores more and from more spots. He's a modern big with a larger offensive burden, which puts him in a different scoring category while still echoing what made Serge effective. Domantas Sabonis. Sabonis' historic comparison is Arvydas Sabonis. This one is obvious, but makes too much sense. Arvydas stood 7'3" and weighed nearly 300 pounds, while Domantas comes in at 6'10" and about 240. Arvydas played center for the Portland Trail Blazers, joining the NBA in his 30s after dominating overseas. Domantas entered the league young, drafted in the first round in 2016. Arvydas averaged around 12 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 assists per game over 470 games. Domantas has averaged about 16 points, 11 rebounds, and nearly 5 assists so far in his career. The difference in playmaking is big. Domantas has become a top-tier passing big, while Arvydas was effective but had a smaller assist role in the NBA. Domantas' field goal percentage in the 2024 to 2025 season hit 59%. Arvydas finished his career with 50% shooting overall. Domantas has also led the league in rebound multiple times and made 3 All-Star teams. Arvydas was inducted into the Hall of Fame, with his global legacy factoring in heavily. The comparison works because both played as skilled big men with rebounding and touch, but Domantas adds more assists and plays a larger offensive role. It's a generational echo with clear statistical growth. Tyrese Maxey. Maxey's historic comparison is pre-injury Derrick Rose. Maxey's listed at 6'2" and 200 pounds. Rose was 6'3", 200, and in his early years ran the point for the Bulls as their lead creator. Maxey plays as a combo guard for the Sixers, operating as a scorer with growing playmaking duties. In the 2024 to 2025 season, Maxey averaged 26.3 points and over 6 assists across 52 games. Rose, in his rookie year, averaged 16.8 points and 6.3 assists. Maxey's career averages now sit at about 19.8 points, 4.5 assists, and 3 rebounds per game. Rose's full career line, 17.4 points, 5.2 assists, 3.2 rebounds. In 2010 to 2011, Rose averaged over 25 points and 7 assists and won Most Valuable Player at age 22. Maxey recently won Most Improved Player and made his first All-Star team. Both were young league guards, shouldering big offensive loads. The difference is Maxey plays in a 3-point heavy era and takes more shots from range. Rose attacked with explosive drives and mid-range efficiency. Maxey's on a sharp rise. Rose peaked early before injuries hit. The comparison holds as a scoring first young guard on a rapid ascent. Amen Thompson. Thompson's historic comparison is Shawn Marion. Both stand 6'7" and play hybrid wing forward roles, known for athleticism and versatility. Marion, drafted 9th overall in 1999, averaged 15.2 points, 8.7 rebounds, and 1.9 assists per game over 1,163 NBA games. Thompson, drafted 4th overall in 2023, is early in his career, but already averages 11.9 points, 7.4 rebounds, and 3.3 assists across his first 136 games, including a recent season with averages of 14.1 points, 8.2 rebounds, and 3.8 assists. The statistical profiles align in rebounding and scoring, but Thompson contributes more assists, signaling a broader playmaking role. Marion was known for defense, rebounding, and off-ball scoring. Thompson mirrors the rebounding and defensive potential, but adds facilitation. Marion shot about 48% from the field across his career. Thompson is over 54% so far. The comparison works. Both impact multiple statistical areas without dominating the ball. Thompson represents a modern version of Marion, similar size and defensive tools, with added playmaking responsibilities. Lauri's historical comparison is Rashard Lewis. Lauri stands 7 feet 1 inch and weighs about 240 pounds. Lewis was listed at 6 feet 10 inches and 235 pounds. Both played forward positions, primarily power forward, with perimeter scoring and size. Lauri has career averages of approximately 18.4 points and 7.1 rebounds per game. Lewis, over a 16-season career, averaged about 14.9 points and 5.2 rebounds. Both are known for their three-point shooting. Lewis shot roughly 38.6% from three for his career, while Lauri has surpassed 37% in multiple seasons with higher volume. Lauri averaged 25.6 points and 8.6 rebounds in the 2022 to 2023 season. Lewis had peak seasons above 20 points per game, but typically played as a complementary scorer. Lauri's rebound numbers are higher, and his offensive role is more central in modern offenses. Lewis played in an era with less perimeter usage from big men and served more as a stretch four or spot-up option. Both were all-stars. Lewis was selected twice and won a championship with Miami in 2013. Lauri has earned all-star recognition and won the NBA's Most Improved Player award. The comparison works because both are floor-spacing forwards with size and mobility. Lauri, though, plays in a more modern stretch-big context and takes on a larger scoring and rebounding role than Lewis did in his era. Zion Williamson. Williamson's historical comparison is Charles Barkley. Both are listed at 6 feet 6 inches and play forward as primary scoring options. Barkley, drafted 5th overall in 1984, played 16 seasons and averaged 22.1 points, 11.7 rebounds, and 3.9 assists per game. Williamson, drafted 1st overall in 2019, is still in the early stages of his career, but currently averages approximately 24.6 points, 6.6 rebounds, and 4.3 assists per game. Barkley was known for elite rebounding and scoring, despite being considered undersized for his position. Williamson plays with even more bulk, roughly 284 pounds, and generates scoring with elite interior finishing and physical dominance. Barkley's career field goal percentage was 54.1%. Williamson has shot over 58% from the field across his career so far. Barkley was an 11-time All-Star and won Most Valuable Player in 1993. Williamson has already made multiple All-Star appearances and is the offensive focal point for New Orleans. Barkley averaged more rebounds, but Williamson produces more assists and has a higher field goal percentage. The comparison fits. Both are undersized forwards with explosive power and elite scoring ability. Barkley set the standard in the 1980s and 90s. Williamson reflects a modern evolution. Less rebounding, more facilitating, and even more efficient finishing. LaMelo Ball. Ball's historical comparison is Pete Maravich. Ball is listed at 6 feet 6 inches and 190 pounds, while Maravich was 6 feet 5 inches and 197 pounds. Both played guard, Ball as a point guard and Maravich as a hybrid shooting and point guard with major offensive creation responsibilities. Maravich averaged 24.2 points, 5.4 assists, and 4.2 rebounds across 658 career games. He led the league in scoring in the 1976-77 season with 31.1 points per game. Ball, early in his career, is averaging roughly 21.1 points, 7.4 assists, and 6.0 rebounds per game. In the 2024-25 season, he averaged 25.2 points, 7.4 assists, and 4.9 rebounds in 47 games. Both are high-skill offensive guards. Maravich was known for his creativity, handle, and shot making before the three-point line was widely used. Ball plays in a modern era with pace, spacing, and three-point volume, reflected in his higher assist numbers and modern offensive style. Ball has already earned Rookie of the Year honors. Maravich was a 5-time All-Star and a Hall of Famer. Both are gifted guard scorers and creators who serve as primary offensive engines for their teams. Maravich represented the scoring guard of the 1970s. Ball reflects the modern playmaking guard in the 2020s, with more passing volume, similar scoring traits, and comparable physical profile. Alperen Sengun. Sengun's historical comparison is Pau. Both are international front court players who combine scoring, rebounding, and passing ability from the center or power forward position. Pau was born in 1980 in Barcelona, Spain, and measured 7 feet tall and about 250 pounds. Sengun was born in 2002 in Giresun, Turkey, and is listed at 6 feet 11 inches and roughly 243 to 250 pounds. Pau averaged 17 points, 9.2 rebounds, and 3.2 assists per game across 1,226 regular season games, shooting about 50.7% from the field. Sengun, in his early career with Houston, averages roughly 16 points, 8.6 rebounds, and 4.1 assists. In the 2024 to 2025 season, he posted 19.1 points, 10.3 rebounds, and 4.9 assists per game, while shooting 49.6%. Powell's career totals include multiple All-Star selections, All-NBA honors, and 2 championships. Sengun is still early in his career, but shows similar statistical structure, balanced scoring, strong rebounding, and above-average passing for a big man. Powell's assist average of 3.2 is notable for his era. Sengun's early assist rates, over 4 per game, indicate expanded facilitation in modern offenses. Both are skilled international bigs who rely on technique, footwork, and vision rather than pure athleticism. Powell represented the prototype European skill big of the 2000s. Sengun mirrors that archetype in the 2020s, slightly smaller, more playmaking focused, and operating in a faster, more perimeter-oriented league. Cooper Flagg, the Mavericks drafted him first overall, and just like that, they're throwing him straight into the fire as the starting point guard. Yeah, you heard that right, point guard. Even though he's 6'9" and usually plays forward, Jason Kidd and the coaching staff are pushing the whole positionless basketball thing like it's a lifestyle. Kyrie's out with a torn ACL, so Dallas is testing Flagg's versatility from the jump. They also brought in D'Angelo Russell, but apparently they're more interested in seeing how Flagg handles the ball. He's got solid handles, great vision, and that size makes it tough for defenders to predict where he's going. In his debut, they took a heavy loss to San Antonio, but he still pulled down 10 rebounds and dropped 10 points while running the offense. That's not your everyday stat line for a point guard. The whole thing feels experimental, and Kidd even said he wants to make Flagg uncomfortable to help him grow. At just 18, it's clear this isn't about wins right now. It's about long-term development. Flagg's got the pedigree, but stepping into the league as the floor leader is a whole different test. Steph Curry. He's back as the Warriors' starting point guard, just like you'd expect. At 37, he's not slowing down in the role. The projected starting lineup has Curry leading with Brandon Podds next to him, plus veterans like Buddy Hield, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green. That's a lot of experience. And Curry's right in the center of it all. His numbers last season, around 24 points, 6 assists, and just over 4 rebounds per game. He shot nearly 40% from deep and still moves without the ball like he's powered by caffeine and chaos. Golden State lost Looney in free agency, which Curry admitted was tough, but the team thinks they've got enough depth to adjust. He signed a 1-year deal under the league's over 38 rule, so clearly this season feels like a final, high-level run. Even though he strained his left hamstring in the playoffs, he's expected to open the year as the lead guard. He's still doing everything: initiating offense, setting tempo, draining shots from distances that feel illegal. And even with Podds handling some playmaking, Curry's control of the offense is still locked in. The defense better be ready. Luka, he's now running point for the Lakers, and the change hasn't exactly gone unnoticed. After the blockbuster trade in February sent Anthony Davis to Dallas, Luka instantly became the new face of the franchise. Los Angeles didn't waste time. By August, they gave him a 3-year deal worth $165 million. That includes a player option, so he's got leverage baked in. Since arriving, Luka has taken over as the team's primary creator. He averaged around 28 points, over 8 rebounds, and close to 8 assists in his first 28 games in a Lakers jersey. They've made it clear he's the engine now. He's also in his mid-20s, so the plan is to build around him while the older core, like LeBron, fades out. There's already talk that Luka could be eyeing a mega deal once he hits 10 years of service, something around $418 million. So this shorter contract gives him options while keeping pressure on the front office. His style, all control and precision. They trust him with the ball, the clock, and the outcome. He's not just filling a position, he's steering the whole ship. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Jalen Brunson, he's still the guy running the show in New York, and his grip on the point guard spot heading into the new season is as solid as ever. He led the Knicks last year with 26 points and over 7 assists per game while shooting nearly 40% from deep. His ability to score and create kept the offense flowing all season. Brunson's playoff run was even more ridiculous. In the Eastern Conference Finals, he averaged 33 points and over 5 assists while shooting nearly 50%. That kind of output earned him the league's Clutch Player of the Year award. And yeah, he earned it. He was basically automatic in the final minutes of close games. His style is all control. He's a scorer, but not a ball hog. His decision-making fuels New York's pick-and-roll attack, and he's smart with when to attack or kick. At 6'2", he's not a giant, but he knows how to navigate space and create his own shot. This year, expectations are even higher, with Karl Anthony Towns added to the mix. Brunson's job isn't just scoring, it's leading a team with real playoff pressure. The defense better come prepared. Amen Thompson, he's coming into the season as Houston's starting point guard, and the expectations are climbing fast. Last year, he averaged over 14 points, 8 rebounds, and nearly 4 assists, and that was just his second season. He also locked in a spot on the all-defensive first team, thanks to his elite versatility. 1.4 steals, 1.3 blocks, that's absurd for a guard. He's listed at 6'7" and plays like a Swiss Army knife. The Rockets say he can handle the ball, play off ball, or even defend centers in a pinch. He's already part of their most efficient lineups and is constantly around the ball. The only thing holding him back? His three-point shot. But he went from barely hitting threes as a rookie to nearly 28% last year, so the arrow's pointing up. Houston's coaching staff is letting him do more. That includes running the offense more often and possibly shifting his scoring load up again. He was the 4th overall pick for a reason, and now that the game's slowing down for him, he's starting to speed up. The defense is in trouble when he's locked in. James Harden, he's still holding down a major role for the Clippers as their starting guard heading into the season. After declining his player option, he signed a new 2-year deal worth about $81 million. At 36, he's not the same MVP level scorer he once was, but the playmaking hasn't gone anywhere. Last season, he put up nearly 23 points per game, with close to 9 assists and almost 6 rebounds. Even in the playoffs, his assist numbers climbed again. He averaged over 9 per game while still giving the Clippers 18 points a night. His efficiency dipped a bit, 41% from the field, just over 35% from 3. But the volume and usage were still heavy. He also played 79 games, averaging more than 35 minutes, which shows how much the Clippers still lean on him. He had a 50-point game in March, proving there's still gas in the tank. He's a combo guard who handles like a point, scores like a 2, and still draws defense attention every trip. The contract, the role, the workload, it all points to Harden still being right in the mix. Drew Holiday. The Portland Trail Blazers brought him in after a trade that originally included draft picks, but those vanished fast after a medical review. So it turned into a 1-for-1 deal with Anthony Simons, heading to Boston. Holiday's 35 now, and while he's no longer flying around like he used to, the Blazers are counting on his leadership and defense. He averaged just over 11 points last season with Boston, and while those numbers aren't flashy, his value goes way beyond the stat sheet. Portland clearly wants to speed up the rebuild by throwing a veteran into the mix, but there's risk. His recent injuries already changed the trade, and there's no guarantee his body can handle the long grind. Still, his 2 titles, including one with the Celtics in 2024, bring credibility to a locker room full of youth. He's expected to mentor guys, especially on the defense, which he's been known for across his whole career. This isn't his first time being tied to Portland either, though the last stint ended fast. Whether this version sticks around depends on how he holds up physically and how patient Portland stays with this odd roster experiment. Shea, the Thunder's lead guard, is coming into the new season as the reigning MVP, Finals MVP, and scoring champ. That's not a small resume. He averaged 32.7 points last year, while hitting over 51% from the field. That's a rare combo, especially for a guy who's also dishing out over 6 assists a night. And he's doing this at 6 feet 6 inches, which gives him a size advantage over most guards. He pulled down 5 rebounds a game too, showing he's not just floating around the perimeter. In the playoffs, his numbers stayed strong with almost 30 points a game across 23 matchups. And that 54-point explosion last season, just one more reminder that he's carrying heavy weight on both ends of the court. He played 76 regular season games, which speaks to how reliable he's been. Efficiency, size, and durability all lining up. The Thunder keep building around him, and with his blend of scoring, passing, and rebounding, he's doing everything you'd want from a modern lead guard. The defense can't just key in on him because he still finds ways to torch them. No signs of slowing down at all. Morant, the Grizzlies' lead guard, enters the season still carrying the offense. And yeah, the opener made that loud and clear. He dropped 35 points on 13 of 20 shooting, and even with a couple of threes falling short, he hit 7 of 8 at the line. Only 3 assists that night, but the scoring punch was the headline. Last season, he averaged 23.2 points, 7.3 assists, and just over 4 boards in 50 games. The issue's been availability. 4 straight seasons with 20 or more games missed. That's not nothing. When you're the guy, everything runs through. He hasn't cracked 65 games since his rookie year, which says a lot. But when he's on, he's hard to stay in front of. That burst, that finishing at the rim, still elite. His 6'2" frame doesn't stop him from punishing defenders, and the Grizzlies lean on that every game. He's under contract, long-term, which means they're all in. The offensive system is built around his pace and his reads. If he stays on the floor, they've got a real chance to make some noise in the West. Cade Cunningham, Detroit's lead guard, has grown into a full-on offensive centerpiece. Last season, he played 70 games and averaged 26.1 points, 9.1 assists, and 6.1 rebounds. His numbers jumped late too. In his final 10 games, he was up over 28 points with 8 assists and 7 boards a night. He followed that with a solid playoff run, posting 25 points, nearly 9 assists, and over 8 rebounds across 6 games. He's 6'6", so that gives him a size edge most guards do not have. He's not just a distributor either. He's taking over games as a scorer and has improved his three-point percentage to 35.6%. That's made him way more dangerous with the ball, especially since he can also initiate from anywhere on the floor. He signed a $224 million extension, so there's no confusion. The Pistons are building this whole thing around him, and with his first All-Star appearance locked in, expectations are only going up. He's got the keys, and based on what he showed last season, he's not giving them up anytime soon. De'Aaron Fox. After years leading Sacramento, Fox landed in San Antonio midseason and now enters as the Spurs' new top option. Before the trade, he was averaging 25 points, 5 rebounds, and just over 6 assists in about 45 games. Then came the pinky injury. Surgery ended his year after only 17 games with the Spurs. But the team didn't hesitate. They handed him a 4-year, $229 million extension in August. No player option included. Fox is 6'3" and uses elite speed to break down defenses and finish at the rim. He's left-handed, which adds to how tough he is to guard, especially in transition. He's also a former Clutch Player of the Year, and he once dropped 60 points in a game last November. That tied a Kings franchise scoring record. Not that he's on that team anymore. The Spurs are clearly building with him in mind, pairing him with younger players as they try to climb out of their rebuild. Devo is officially locked in as the Timberwolves' starting point guard for the season. He's stepping into the lead role after Mike Conley moved to the bench, and the team's made it clear he's running the show now. The official depth chart backs it up. Devo, standing 6'4" and weighing 203 pounds, came to Minnesota in a trade that sent Karl Anthony Towns out and brought him and Julius Randle in. Last season, he played 62 games and averaged almost 12 points, close to 4 boards, and just under 4 assists per game. His outside shot was solid, hitting nearly 40% from deep. That shooting's a big part of why he's in this role now. Spacing the floor is key, especially with scorers like Randle and Anthony Edwards on the court. While Devo's been mostly a shooting guard, he's now tasked with handling more playmaking and initiating the offense. He's not a flashy passer, but he contributes across the board. He's also got championship experience from Milwaukee and made history with the Knicks. So this is a player used to big moments. The Timberwolves are betting on that versatility now. Devin Booker. Booker's still the guy in Phoenix, and after signing a record-breaking extension, there's no mistaking it. That new deal runs through the 2029-30 season and averages around $72 million per year, making it the highest yearly extension ever. The Suns clearly aren't messing around. They've labeled him the franchise cornerstone and aren't entertaining trade talk, even with all the roster shakeups. Last season, he played 75 games and averaged over 25 points, 7 assists, and 4 rebounds. His field goal percentage sat just above 46%. On February 4th, he passed Walter Davis to become the Suns' all-time leading scorer, locking in his place in team history. Now, with Kevin Durant gone, the Suns will lean on him more than ever. He'll be the central figure in their offense, and the spotlight's only getting brighter. He's been an all-star 4 times, and the expectations are rising. He's 6'6" and 206 pounds, still playing shooting guard, but his role is bigger than a position label. The team even leaned on him during their coaching hire, which tells you everything about how much control he's got now. Tyrese Maxey. Maxey's holding down the starting point guard spot for the Sixers again this season, and after the numbers he just posted, there's zero surprise. He averaged over 26 points, 6 assists, and more than 3 rebounds across 52 games in 2024 to 2025. His field goal percentage was around 44%, with 3-point shooting a little under 34%. That scoring average makes it clear. He's not just running the offense, he is the offense. He's 6'2", 200 pounds, and just 24 years old heading into the season. Drafted 21st overall back in 2020, he's climbed his way into a leadership role. The Sixers view him as their floor general, but not in that old-school pass-first way. He's explosive, fast, and can score in bunches. His assist numbers are solid, showing he can create, and his rebounding's decent for a guard. He made his first All-Star game recently and landed in the Ringer's top 40 players list. His availability matters though. He only played 52 games last season. If he stays healthy and boosts that three-point rate, Philly's betting big on Maxey to keep driving the whole thing. LaMelo Ball. Ball enters the season still holding the reins in Charlotte as their starting point guard. He's 6'7", weighs 180 pounds, and runs the show for the Hornets. Last season, despite only playing 47 games, he put up about 25 points, 7 assists, and nearly 5 rebounds per game. That scoring mark shows how central he is to everything they're doing. The Hornets are building around him, and they're not being quiet about it. His field goal percentage sat around 40%, and he hit just under 34% from deep. Efficiency's something to watch, but when you're putting up those numbers in limited minutes, you're clearly making noise. He kicked off this season healthy and started strong with 20 points and 8 assists in the opener. His pace stats are nuts too. Per 100 possessions, he's up near 39 points and 11 assists. That kind of production turns heads. Charlotte needs him available though. He's only played in about half the games lately, but if he stays on the floor, the Hornets are clearly betting on Ball to take them wherever they're going next. Josh Giddey. Giddey's heading into the new season with the Bulls after a big trade last year sent him from Oklahoma City to Chicago in exchange for Alex Caruso. He's 6'8" and 210 pounds, which gives him that rare guard-forward combo feel. Last season, he put up almost 15 points, over 8 boards, and just above 7 assists per game. For a guy who doesn't dominate headlines, that stat line's doing plenty of talking. He also shot nearly 38% from deep and around 46% overall from the field. That three-point jump is a big deal, especially after a more inconsistent stretch with the Thunder. The Bulls clearly saw something they liked, because he's now a major piece in their rotation and just locked in a new contract. His playmaking continues to stand out. He racked up multiple triple-doubles, including a game with 25 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists. That all-around production makes him one of the more unique weapons in the league right now. Going into 2026, Chicago's betting on Giddey to keep growing into a high-usage role. If his efficiency holds up, he's set to be a big factor. Trae Young. Young's still running the show in Atlanta, entering the season as the Hawks' starting point guard. He's listed at 6'2" and 164 pounds, but his presence on the court is anything but small. Last season, he averaged over 24 points and a league-best 11.6 assists per game. That assist mark puts him at the top of the playmaking ladder. He's been the engine behind the Hawks' offense for years now, handling the ball, launching deep threes, and living in the pick and roll. His passing numbers keep climbing, and he even had a 22 assist game last year, which is no joke. But with a field goal percentage around 41%, there's still room for growth when it comes to efficiency. He's never been shy with the ball, and his high usage style means he'll keep drawing a ton of defensive attention. That comes with turnovers, but also a constant threat to create. The Hawks are counting on him for both scoring and setup duty again. He's the guy Atlanta's built around since trading for him on draft night, and that's not changing anytime soon. Jordan Poole. Poole's starting the season in New Orleans after getting traded from Washington in a 4-player deal. He's 6'4" and 194 pounds. And now, he's part of a Pelicans roster that'll likely use him as a scoring guard with some lead guard responsibilities mixed in. In 68 games last season, he averaged over 20 points, 3 rebounds, and 4.5 assists per game. He also shot just above 43% from the field and nearly 38% from deep, breaking the Wizards' single-season record for made threes in the process. That outside shot gives him floor spacing value right away. He dropped 45 points in a game against Cleveland and also had multiple 40-plus games during the year. It wasn't just empty scoring. He initiated offense and showed growth as a ball handler. Washington even moved him into more of a point guard role mid-season. He's an NBA champ from his Warriors days, so he brings experience too. Now it's about how he fits into New Orleans' system. If the efficiency holds and the assists tick up, he could end up a key weapon for them fast. Darius Garland. Garland's heading into the new season as the Cavaliers' starting point guard once again, locked into a massive contract that runs through 2028. He's 6'1", 192 pounds, and coming off a strong season where he averaged over 20 points and nearly 7 assists across 75 games. He earned his second All-Star selection, and the Cavs grabbed the top seed in the East with him helping run the offense. He did undergo toe surgery after the playoffs, but was cleared for court work ahead of the Open. That recovery will still be something to watch early in the season. Last year's numbers show how central he is to what Cleveland wants to do. He handles the ball, initiates the offense, and makes things happen. His scoring touch and vision keep the offense flowing, but expectations are high, with his salary taking up a big chunk of the cap. The teams got him locked in, so his role's not going anywhere. He may even take on more off-ball movement or leadership duties this season. The contract says he's the guy. Now it's about whether he keeps pushing that ceiling higher for Cleveland. Dennis Schroeder. Schroeder's joining the Kings for the season after signing a 3-year deal worth about $45 million. He's 6'1", 175 pounds, and heading into the season at 32 years old. He's bounced around quite a bit in his career, but now Sacramento's banking on him to lead their backcourt. Last season, he averaged just over 13 points, 5.5 assists, and nearly 3 rebounds per game across 75 outings. In the playoffs, those numbers dipped slightly, but he remained a steady contributor. His field goal percentage sat around 40%, and he shot about 34% from deep. So yeah, his scoring isn't overwhelming, but he still gets buckets when needed and manages the offense like a pro. Schroeder's role now is less about highlight reels and more about making the game smoother for everyone else. Sacramento's hoping his experience translates into steady ball handling, tempo control, and leadership. He's not the same player he was years ago, but he doesn't have to be. If he stays efficient and healthy, his presence could quietly keep the Kings organized and moving forward. Derrick White. White enters the season as Boston's starting guard and one of their most reliable two-way players. He's 6'4", 190 pounds, and coming off a strong year where he averaged over 16 points, nearly 5 assists, and about 4.5 rebounds per game. His shooting splits were solid too, just above 44% from the field and nearly 38.5% from three. He made Celtics history alongside Peyton Pritchard when they both dropped over 40 points in the same game last March. That night, he hit a career-high 41 points. He also led all NBA guards in total shot contests last season with over 500. His ability to defend at a high level while staying efficient offensively makes him one of Boston's most complete players. With Jason Tatum out for the season, White's workload is expected to rise. He already set a team record for most threes in a season, and now he'll be leaned on for even more scoring and creation. He's under contract long-term, and Boston's made it clear they're not moving him unless someone loses their mind with an off. Jamal Murray. Murray heads into the season as Denver's starting point guard, locked in with a new 4-year deal worth over $200 million. He's 6'4", 215 pounds, and still just 28. Last season, he averaged over 21 points, 6 assists, and nearly 4 rebounds across 67 games. His shooting was efficient, about 47% from the field, almost 39.5% from three, and his effective field goal percentage came in above 54%. That kind of shot making paired with playmaking makes him the ideal fit next to a star like Nikola Jokic. Murray's always been known for his playoff jumps, but his regular season stats now show he's bringing that level more consistent. He dropped a career-high 55 points last season and continues to be one of the league's toughest covers at his position. He's been the starter since 2017, and even after major injuries earlier in his career, he's bounced back strong. With Denver staying in contender mode, Murray's role is as crucial as ever. He's the engine behind everything they're trying to build again. Kevin Porter Jr. Porter enters the season as Milwaukee's new starting point guard. He's 6'5", 203 pounds, and just signed a 2-year deal with the Bucks after arriving via trade last season. In his limited minutes after joining the team, he averaged just under 12 points and nearly 4 assists per game, while shooting close to 50% from the field and over 40% from three. That level of efficiency turned heads fast. With Damian Lillard gone, the Bucks need someone to run the offense, and Porter's getting that chance. He already logged a triple-double in a game against Dallas last March, and his skill set blends scoring with sneaky playmaking. Now, he's being asked to control the tempo, handle more ball pressure, and make decisions in real time instead of just gunning for buckets. It's a big shift from rotational scorer to full-time lead guard, and it comes with responsibility. His contract isn't massive, so this is a prove-it stretch. If he keeps up the shooting and tightens the playmaking, he could stick long-term, but he'll have to show he can run the show without giving it away. Andrew Nembhard. Nembhard heads into the season expected to continue playing a major role in Indiana's backcourt. He's 6'4", 191 pounds, and has grown into a reliable guard option since being drafted 31st overall back in 2022. While he isn't always labeled as a traditional point guard, the Pacers have leaned on him for lead guard duties when needed, especially in key stretches. Last season, he averaged 10 points, 5 assists, and just over 3 rebounds per game across 65 games. His field goal percentage was a solid 45.8%, though his three-point shooting was under 30%, which still needs improvement. In the playoffs, his numbers climbed: 12.5 points, nearly 5 assists, and strong composure over more than 20 games. That production in high-leverage moments shows Indiana's trust in him when it matters most. He's not the flashiest player, but his steady play, decision-making, and versatility let him slide between ball handler and off-ball roles. If the shot starts falling from deep and the assist numbers keep trending up, Nembhard could take another leap as a trusted piece in Indiana's rotation. Jalen Suggs. Suggs is back in the starting lineup for Orlando heading into the season, fresh off a 5-year extension worth over $150 million. He's 6'5", 205 pounds, and only 24 years old, but already being counted on as a key two-way piece for the Magic's backcourt. Before a knee surgery shut him down in March, he was averaging a career-high 16.2 points, 4 rebounds, and nearly 4 assists across 35 games. He underwent arthroscopic surgery on his left knee to remove a cartilage fragment and missed the rest of the season, but he's expected to be fully active heading into opening night. Suggs was also named to the all-defensive second team last season, which tells you how much of a force he is on that end. He's not just a scorer, he locks in defensively and plays physical on the perimeter. The scoring jump showed promise, but now it's about staying healthy and sharpening the efficiency. With that extension locked in, Orlando sees him as one of the faces of their rebuild. The floor is his if he can keep it together. Immanuel Quickley enters the season as one of Toronto's top guards after locking in a 5-year deal worth $175 million. He's 6'3", 190 pounds, and now 26 years old with a clear role as a playmaker and scorer for the Raptors. Last season, he averaged just over 17 points, nearly 6 assists, and about 3.5 rebounds per game. His shooting splits were solid, about 42% from the field, nearly 38% from deep, and close to 87% at the line. He was even better on the road, where his scoring ticked up to almost 18.5 per game. While not always labeled a pure point guard, Quickley's assist numbers keep rising, and his off-ball value stays strong thanks to that reliable jumper. His career stats show that when he starts, his scoring can explode. He once averaged over 21 points per game across 27 starts with New York. With a hefty contract now on the books, Toronto's betting big on him. The shot's there. Now it's about consistency, creation, and staying healthy for the long haul. Bub Carrington, one of the youngest full-time players in the league, Carrington enters the season as a centerpiece of the Washington Wizards rebuild. At just 20 years old, he's 6'4", 190 pounds, and already logged a full 82-game rookie season, something only 11 rookies across the league pulled off. Drafted 14th overall by Portland, then traded to Washington on draft night, Carrington made an immediate impact. He averaged just under 10 points, 4.5 assists, and 4.2 rebounds per game. He shot around 40% from the field, nearly 34% from three, and over 81% from the line. Respectable numbers for a rookie guard in a high-usage, low-win environment. His season was highlighted by a 32-point explosion against Orlando and a buzzer-beating floater to beat Miami in the finale. He also set the Wizards' rookie record for made threes with 138 and earned NBA All-Rookie Second-Team honors. Heading into year 2, Carrington is expected to have even more freedom and responsibility. He'll continue to develop as both a scorer and facilitator. And while efficiency is an area to watch, his poise, motor, and full-season durability show promise. With Washington still in rebuild mode, the floor is his. Davion Mitchell. Heading into the season, Mitchell suits up for the Miami Heat as a tough, two-way guard with a rising role. At 6 feet even, 202 pounds, and age 27, he brings grit, speed, and playoff experience to the Heat's backcourt. Last season, he averaged just under 8 points, nearly 5 assists, and a little over 2 rebounds across 74 games. His shooting splits were efficient, nearly 47% from the field and just under 40% from deep. In the playoffs, he turned it up. 15 points and over 6 assists per game in limited appearances, showing he can deliver in big moments. Mitchell's reputation from his Baylor days as a defensive stopper still holds weight, and his compact frame makes him a physical on-ball defender. He's not flashy, but he's reliable. Miami brought him in mid-season from Toronto, and all signs point to a bigger role this year, possibly as a backup point guard with real closing minute value, especially on the defensive end. His clutch gene flashed in a late season win over Indiana, where he buried a go-ahead 3. If he builds on that momentum and continues to shoot the ball efficiently, Mitchell could become a steady two-way contributor for a Heat squad always looking for high IQ, high-effort guards. Isaiah Collier, Utah's starting point guard, enters the new season with some buzz, but also some question marks. He's got the size you want at 6'4" and 210 pounds, and he's coming off a rookie year where he flashed real potential as a playmaker. The Jazz took him late in the first round, 29th overall, but his impact's already gone way beyond where he was drafted. He even broke the franchise rookie assist record, passing John Stockton. No pressure, right? His averages as a rookie? Around 9 points, 6 assists, and 3 rebounds. Not eye-popping, but solid for a young guard still adjusting to the league. He also had a standout night in January, where he went for 23 points, 7 assists, and 7 boards in an overtime win. That kind of stuff gets noticed. Now let's talk about the weak spots. His jumper hasn't convinced anybody yet. The outside shot just isn't there. And with teams daring him to shoot, that's a problem. Also, turnovers and decision-making still need work, but the Jazz are in rebuild mode, and they've clearly made room for him to grow. He's young, athletic, and locked into a key role. Ben Seraph, Brooklyn threw him right into the fire as their starting guard on opening night, and he held his own. At 6'6" and 200 pounds, he brings size and vision to the backcourt, and the Nets clearly think he's ready for real minutes. He played 20 minutes in that first game, scoring 8 points, grabbing 7 boards, and dishing out 4 assists without a single turnover. That's a solid debut. Even if the shooting numbers were rough, just 2 makes on 7 attempts and 0 for 3 from deep. Before joining the NBA, Seraph built his reputation in Europe. He averaged nearly 13 points and almost 5 assists per game in Germany's top league, and his youth play was wild. At the under-18 Eurobasket, he dropped over 28 points per game and took home MVP honors. The Nets are betting on that upside. His passing, creativity, and court awareness are already shown, but the three-point shot and athleticism need polish. Still, being a rookie starter is no joke. If he can find rhythm from deep and hold his own on defense, his role might grow fast. The Nets are rebuilding, and Seraph's already in the mix. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.